Howdy folks, Corky Duke Farminator here. Come with me if you want to farm. This is Farming Simulator 22, Michigan Farms Map, Schafer's Ag Service, Part 109. This is an accurate replica of the farm I grew up on, and we got to continue farming. Yeah. So, okay, so we're in April already. So we got a couple of fields here to plant soybeans there and corn in these three fields. And what was 13 was corn too, I think. No, 13 was sorghum. Right. All right. Okay. Okay. So let's see how that works. Okay. Looks like I've already been picked clean of stones. Okay, we've already done that field. Let's move on down to this one. Make sure that one's been picked clean too, because well, might get plowed again. I don't know. Okay. All right, we got more wood to throw in the sawmill. Oh, quick clean too. What do you know? These are coming up quick. That road hasn't been repaired in 4 years. County's kind of taking its time fixing that. That's going to be the, yeah, it's going to be the big wheat field that I plant there. Okay. Oh wow, okay. Okay. Let's get back to lumbering. At some point we gotta plant these fields. Ah. Oh, now Trump's doing money laundering, which, surprise, surprise, that didn't surprise anybody. The whole part about this shit is not that Trump's a criminal. We know he's a criminal. We know what kind of piece of shit he is. It's the people that are enabling him to do it, supporting him. That's who really should be held accountable.
He more than doubled it.
Oh, okay. So if they increase it, then it's not a piggyback. So because Biden increased it, it wasn't a piggyback. Because Kamala Harris wanted to increase it, it wasn't a piggyback.
No, because they have no policy of their own.
Wait, so then therefore Donald Trump didn't have any policy of his own because Obama increased the child tax credit before Trump.
No, because Donald Trump is more popular.
Well, then you still support Trump.
Absolutely. What you did with that lady was very messed up, dude.
Can you explain to us why?
Yeah, because you're using the Howard Stern recording, which is so disingenuous.
Huh.
Can you explain to us why?
Because he's on the Howard Stern show, and it was like 11 years before he even decided to run for president. And second, Okay, it's a show that had a competition for a contestant with the largest bowel movement won a free toilet. So if that's all they got out of Trump, that's pretty pathetic. That's Trump trying to be. And by the way, he never said he went into any dressing room to backstage.
Hell, he didn't.
And it was a lame attempt from Trump to even sound like a player, in my opinion.
All right, you made 3 points. You said the first reason why you got that clip is because it was on the Stern Show, and that was a crazy show. Then you said another thing that happened on that show with them having a bowel movement contest. Listen, for all of the older people tuning into the live stream, you're probably well acquainted with the Howard Stern Show. They did do some crazy shit on there to get views. It was a shock jock nonsense bloodbath. I mean, the only thing I know about the Howard Stern Show outside of this clip is what's his name, Beetlejuice, and how they take advantage of this disabled guy, right? But the Howard Stern Show, what they would do would of course be these ludicrous things of like having mentally disabled people do math competitions against 5th graders or having people do bowel movements on air. But the second thing that they would do would legitimately be interviews. And they would interview, at first, really crazy people so they could hear crazy stories about these crazy people. But then the longer they kept these interviews up and the older and more mature Howard Stern got, they kind of more so just shifted into straight-up interviews, and they ended up having people like Biden, and I even think Hillary Clinton on at one point in time, and they started talking to politicians. I don't deny that the nature of the show was to be shock jockey, and I also don't deny that that's likely why Donald Trump felt comfortable sharing the story with Howard Stern, but I don't think that changes the fact that the story that he shared was accurate. Not only do we have zero indication from this clip that he was lying, but rather specifically addressed in a question asked by Stern, but we also have the independent cooperation from many of the women and girls that were there to have this happen to them. If you'd like to take a moment to respond to those points, feel free before I move on to debunk your next 2 points.
Yeah, again, you proved everything that I said correct. It's a filth show. And no, they didn't go from, doing penis measuring competitions to being serious overnight. They never were serious. It never was serious. So
well, maybe you're just explaining why Trump felt comfortable to admit to this.
I think he made up the story to sound like
he would never do that in a billion years. He's a man. He's a man. He wouldn't make this story up, and I can tell you why. It opens up himself to the possibility of lawsuits against him. And the reason why I say that is because he's a man with a bunch of money that owned a bunch of pageants. Okay? I don't think a man with a bunch of money that actually owned these pageants would ever falsely claim to have possibly engaged in something possibly illegal against the beauty pageant contestants, because then that opens up the door for those beauty pageant contestants to turn around and possibly, take litigation against them. The second reason why I don't think that he make this story up is because, admittedly, it's damaging to the reputation of himself, right? To talk about how he's just barging in and seeing all these naked women and girls, it hurts his reputation, it also hurts the reputations of his brands. The only reason I think Donald Trump could possibly have made this story up is if Donald Trump legitimately did not think that the content and the nature of the story was wrong. So, in other words, under your view, we are already pre-assuming that Donald Trump doesn't think it's wrong to barge into the dressing rooms to look at them naked. So then why wouldn't he just actually do it? And we know he actually did it because he said so, and once again, because of the cooperation from the women and girls that he did it to.
Okay, well, I think it could have been completely made up as well to sound like a badass on a show, when in fact you're not really a badass like that at all.
So basically what you're saying is you don't care if a politician lies and still vote for him. That's basically what you're saying.
A bunch of crazy shit, and sometimes those clips will end up getting millions of views on the internet.
Yeah, I seen a video of you crashing out over your anxiety pen.
Yeah, that was funny. And that was satire, so that's actually a really good example. Sometime on the show, we wrap in rage bait, satirical moments, funny moments, and there's a particular value to like the entertainment aspect of it, this. That's a little shocking, right? But listen, does that mean that I and everybody else watching this stream can just assume that what you are saying is not true, that you don't actually mean what you say, you're not actually a Trump supporter, because the nature of the show can be shocking at times? No. Because although the nature of the show is shocking at times, and the nature of the statements from the guests are shocking at times, that doesn't mean that you're lying. No, you're telling the truth about yourself and about your actual beliefs. But you and your actual beliefs are just legitimately shocking. And I think that's what Donald Trump was doing. He understands the nature of the show is shocking sexual promiscuity, so he told the truth about something that he would do, which is to barge into the dressing rooms and look at their naked bodies, which admittedly is shockingly sexually promiscuous, right? But also shockingly sexually violent. And because it's shockingly sexually violent, we need to condemn him for this, and we need to recognize that these sexual predators should be far and away from the Oval Office.
Okay, now, let me give you another possibility. Is it possible that he could have just been making that up?
It's possible in the same way it's possible that unicorns can live on Mars. A lot of things are possible, but we don't build our beliefs based on unsubstantiated possibilities. We build our beliefs on what is the most probable outcome, what's most likely to be true. And clearly, in this context, what's most likely to be true is that he was telling a story about something that he actually did, because 12 women and girls said that he did this to them, and his other allegations from 40 women of rape. Another civil court determined that he raped a woman by the name of Eugene Carroll. On another clip, he said that he liked to grab women by their vaginas without asking first. And in the Epstein files, he has a credible accusation from J-No number 4. The reason why I bring all these points up is just to show you the stark amount of evidence that we have outside of Donald Trump's own word to increase the probability that Donald Trump was telling the truth. And I think that you're playing dumb because you're a brainless cultist following your golden Cheeto calf like a sheep.
No, Trump, in my opinion, is the only politician I've ever seen willing to tip over the apple cart. And while you guys are sitting here...
The apple cart's the country, by the way. He's willing to tip over the country and destroy it for his own self-enrichment. Why don't you go ahead and respond to the argument I gave to show you that when Donald Trump was on the Howard Stern show, he was talking about something he actually did.
Okay, no, what I'm saying is that show is... Okay, let's talk about that show again.
Go ahead and repeat yourself. Hold on. What you've already said 2 other times, and I'll respond the same way I did the other 2 times. That's
Dean,
fine.
what year was that recording taken? Do you know?
2005.
Okay, was he running for president in 2005?
No.
I see, okay. So do you know that the original tape wasn't released initially by Howard Stern during the presidential election because he said he did not want to release anything that could potentially, harm a person during a run or something? So Howard Stern himself didn't even want to release it because he himself knows, hey...
This was released in 2005. April 11th.
Okay. So I'm talking about from the studio. They wanted, the recording from the studio.
We had the recording from the studio as early as April 11th.
I'm saying they wanted it from Howard Stern's people. They got the recording, but what I'm saying is Howard Stern himself didn't want to give it.
We got it from Howard Stern's people on April 11th, 2005.
Well, initially he had a different stance on it. I do remember him saying that.
I don't know what this guy's talking about, but this has been live, on air, on the internet, since April 11th, 2005. When it originally aired from Howard Stern, his people, and his radio show, live on XM radio.
Okay, but besides the point, at least you admitted that the Howard Stern show is basically a filth show,
which is what made Donald Trump feel comfortable enough to share the story.
And we can both admit that he wasn't running for president during the time of this.
What? So what? What does that got to do with any fucking thing?
It wouldn't matter.
It does.
Okay, so you'd vote for Jeffrey Epstein if he was still alive because he wasn't running for president when he raped girls? What does that change? He still raped kids. Donald Trump still sexually exploited these women and girls by barging into their dressing rooms. You're silly. You're silly goose. You're a little silly goose. You're a little tiny goose with no brain.
What I'm saying is people in this country are very sensitive, okay? And
I don't think we're sensitive enough that we have a president that's guilty of sexual violence and people like you defend it. You don't care about the consent of women or girls. Why should I care about your consent to continue to speak? I'll do it for the productivity of dialogue.
Okay, Dean, are you going to stop for a second? I said, in general, politicians in this country have been very cookie cutter until Trump came along. Okay, they literally had to change rules because of him. Okay, especially when it comes to live debates.
And you think that's
TV.
good?
Let's be real. Okay, this happened.
I know, because he can't keep his mouth shut. They had to change the rules and give him a mute button.
Dean, stop. Dean, there's no polarizing political figure in modern era since Napoleon compared to Trump.
Which is why I do these. Well, I think
polarizing political
Hitler was
figure.
a bit more polarizing, but hey.
Okay, no, everybody in the world knows who the hell Donald Trump is. He's literally trying to leverage using our military as we speak to keep these BRIC nations and these OPEC nations.
That's cute, but it's not relevant to the debate. Somebody seems like they're running away.
No, I'm being honest here, bro.
And you're being honest about something that is not the topic or subject of dialogue. Imagine that you join my live to debate me on abortion, and I say, okay, I don't think that abortion is wrong because of insert shitty argument here, and you're like a really strong pro-life debater. You say, Dean, your argument is shitty, and here's precisely why in 3 sentences or less. And then in response I went, wow, when Ronald Reagan did mass amnesty, it had a 2% increase on the real median wages of the blue-collar working class. And I think that we should further revise our immigration policies today to further incentivize legal entry by cutting wait times. Okay. All right. Yeah, that have nothing to do with any type of a response to your objection to my pro-choice abortion argument. I'd be pivoting like hella. So when you come up here and you say what I did to the last guest on this live stream was shitty, because I showed her who Trump really is, I played her a clip of him admitting to sexual violence, then you give some shit-ass response saying what the nature of the show is sexually promiscuous. And I say, yeah, that's actually not unreal, and I also admit to it. And although there's a possibility he was lying, the vast probability would be is that he was telling the truth, because A, that's what he said, B, that's what the 12 women and girls that he did it to said, C, he has other instances of talking about and committing sexual violence, E-Files, E. Jean Carroll, Access Hollywood Tapes 2004. Therefore, conclusion, we should absolutely believe that this is what he did. And then your response is to start talking about BRICS, Donald Trump's foreign policy. You're breaking my neck with this pivot. Stay on topic. Respond.
Your supporters think I should be Charlie Kirk. Well, fuck you.
Hope employers reach out to you.
If that's what you guys think, because I disagree with you, I should be unalived. That's so awesome. Your supporters are so great, Dean. See what you're doing for this country is amazing. You're doing such a great job, dude.
Shut the fuck
To
up.
hear a response to the argument. If anybody says you deserve to
Do
die, I'm sorry.
you guys think that's productive? That you want me unalive?
Fuck you.
Do you understand what kind of a man I am?
You
don't
fuck
get it.
you.
Honestly, I didn't see anybody say that in the chat. I did see somebody say that I'm probably going to get Charlie Kirk sooner or later, which would make sense because there was this video made about me with now 8,000 likes, and the top comment with 500 likes is saying that I deserve the same death Charlie Kirk had. So I think that you are actually misinterpreting a comment made against me. But why don't you go ahead and respond to the counter argument unless you're scared?
Yes.
No, I'm just being for real, bro.
No, you're
My
not.
DMs are filling up with your fucking supporters as we speak. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, don't DM the guest, guys. There you go. You have my condemnation. Now let's either get on topic or you could run away.
No, I'm cool with it. I just know how you leftists are. I live in Los Angeles. It's disgusting people.
Yeah, that's cute. I mean, I disagree with you, but go ahead and respond to the counter.
You believe in open borders, amnesty for
and
all.
you believe in not addressing arguments when they're given to you. Folks, this guy is shivering in fear. His jaw's quaking. Honestly,
You don't believe in open borders,
can you turn
dumbass.
your camera on so we can ensure that your teeth aren't
So you can
clattering
understand
and
what an
your face
open border is.
and that you're not like grinding your fist like together and banging it on the table, but then muted in between. Oh, yikes, bro! Please turn that camera off. Whew, that was scary. Wow, you should turn that camera off. I don't really want to see you. You're kind of terrifying to look at. You're muted right now. Go ahead and give a counter argument to the position, please. Your mic is muted, big boy.
I used to literally act in like commercials in Hollywood. What are you talking about, bro? I'm a handsome guy.
I see why it's used to. But go ahead and address
Yeah,
the
when I
counter
was younger,
argument.
I used to get casted for all kinds of football movies and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, used. too.
Yeah, when you get older, you can't like, well, depending on how far the camera is, of course, but you can't generally play in high school movies as
how old are you?
football players.
How old are you?
I'm 40 now.
Now Brad Pitt's 56. He's still in Hollywood. I think it's more.
Yeah, but he's not playing 18-year-olds in like movies and shit. When I was 22, I could play an 18-year-old in like any given Sunday, for example. I could play
one-hit wonder, folks. Can you respond to the argument, please?
Okay, whatever. Okay, what was the argument again?
You forgot it? Why?
Because I got distracted.
I know. You guys do that a lot.
I already roasted you on the fact that the Howard Stern show was a complete flop. You admitted to it. You even said that he could possibly... Oh, unicorns. Okay, you said he could not have been lying. I think he's just fabricating a story like he's trying to do. You also admitted that he wasn't running for president at the time.
Yeah.
And presidency was not even on his radar at the time.
Yeah.
So using something like that for political purposes is a little weak.
Let's see if this guy can explain why he's saying the crap he is. Now, you're saying that you owned me by getting me to admit that in 2005, when he admitted to sexual violence, he didn't actually do it. Sorry, no. When he admitted to sexual violence, he wasn't actively running for president. I want you to tell me what that fact does or changes about why we shouldn't care about it.
Hold on a second. Where in the hell did he admit to sexual violence in that recording? What
Where
are
he
you
said
talking
he'd
about?
barge into their dressing rooms and look at their naked bodies.
So he barged in, and then he barged in. He said that. I barged in, and I looked at all their naked bodies, and I grabbed them all together in one grip of my small hands. They're not small, they're quite big when it comes to young girls. What are you talking about?
That was really demented. Yeah, he said he'd barge into their dressing rooms and look at their naked bodies by describing a dressing room, saying he'd go inside it, and then he said that he'd see them standing there with no clothes on. And then every woman and girl who remembers it happening to them also said that it happened in the dressing rooms.
Well, I just don't want that listener to feel bad, because you made her feel really bad, and that was fucked up.
Can you explain
Is that what you do to your listeners? You want them to come out of your life feeling like, oh, I did the wrong thing. Don't ever regret what you've done in life. Don't ever regret it.
Yeah, that's MAGA. Regret nothing and do everything, regardless of the implications on yourself, those that you love, or society as a whole.
MAGA is never quit.
And I'm trying to free people. Now, you asked me a question. You said, well, when in the clip did he say sexual violence? I described it to you. What's your response, my friend?
Literally, bro, to me, that's not sexual violence.
Can you define sexual violence?
Yeah, forcing your sexual desires onto somebody else without their consent.
How is that different than barging into them when they're changing
like physical
inside of their dressing rooms?
No, I didn't hear him say I barged.
So that was forced on them?
Probably not.
Well, it's either something they chose or something they didn't choose.
He said I'm inspected.
Listen to what I'm saying. I'm going to put you on mute. Let me get this clear. There's only two options here. It's either something that those women chose to have them in there to look at their naked bodies, or it's something that those women didn't choose to have them in there to look at their naked bodies. Now, if they chose it, that means they consented to it. And if they didn't choose it, that means it was forced, right? So when I asked you, well, did they consent to it? And you said no. And I said, so that means it was forced, and you said no. Well, it has to either be consented to or forced. There's no other option.
No, but what I'm saying is he owns the pageant. See, it's different. It's not like he's going into somebody's random.
He doesn't own the girls, asshole.
Some other pageant he doesn't own. Like, he is an owner of it. So no, it's not unusual for an owner.
He doesn't own the girls.
Fucking warning, bro.
I have a very simple question.
And you guys are just blowing a house.
I have a very simple question for you. You and your daughter are at the store. She goes to use the women's restroom. Now, some random man walks into the restroom behind her, barges in, peeks his head over the stall, and sees her private parts.
Stop it.
That's sexual violence.
Dean, that's ridiculous. This is not what we're talking about here.
This is exactly what we're talking about.
I'd like to demonstrate.
Okay, yes, obviously it is very inappropriate.
Okay, we're going to change one thing about that question, okay, and then I'm going to ask it again. The one thing that we're going to change about that question is instead of this man, to prove points, it's nice, instead of this man being a random patron of the business, now this man is the business owner. That's the only thing we're going to change. You go into a store, your little girl goes in to use the restroom. This now man, who's no longer random but rather the business owner, barges into the restroom behind her, peeks his head over the stall, and looks at her private parts. Is that still sexual violence? Is that still inappropriate?
Okay, so this is a crazy hypothetical, but yes, it's still inappropriate. And no, I do not believe Trump would just barge in anywhere.
Not
and
talking
I
about
think
Trump.
he
One
elaborated the
last
story
thing.
for Howard
So just to
Stern.
clarify, I asked you 2 questions there. In the first scenario, it was a random man exploiting your daughter. In the second scenario, it was the owner of the business that she was in that was exploiting your daughter. Can we agree that you thought, and you answered, that it was just as wrong and just as exploitative in both of the 2 scenarios?
Yeah, the same way.
Perfect.
You know,
Thank you so much.
The same way.
Therefore, when you told me, Dean, ultimately, the reason why I don't think that this was wrong for Trump to do is because he was the business owner, well, you now understand why that was some hot shit that we're going to toss out the window, because we both agreed it doesn't matter if he is the business owner.
Oh my God, Dean, stop. Okay?
I know, you want me to stop
Going
trying.
into a bathroom and inspecting a fucking backstage is totally different. We're not
Do you
talking
think
about
that
a bathroom.
going
We're
into
talking
a
about
bathroom to
backstage.
look at naked bodies is different than going into a dressing room to look at naked bodies?
I can't believe you're this disconnected.
What's the difference between going into a bathroom to look at the naked bodies of the people in it and going into a dressing room to look at the naked bodies of the people in it?
Are we even going to have this conversation right now?
Yeah, can you answer the question?
Because in the dressing room, you can like throw on a towel or a robe or something like that and give somebody warning, like, hey, Trump's coming in to come in and say hi or whatever the fuck.
Could
you
they
know
not
what I
give
mean?
a warning before he goes into the bathroom to make sure nobody's actively using it?
Oh my God, I guess in your hypothetical world.
So then what's the difference? Because
Oh my
you said
God,
if it's a
dude.
bathroom, it's sexual exploitation. If it's a dressing room, it's not sexual
This guy's an
exploitation.
obvious
There's no relevant difference
rapist,
that make it
fucking
exploitation in one scenario but not the other.
Yeah, but
because
dude, the
defender.
the thing
Just
that
fucking
makes it
hang
sexual
up on his ass.
exploitation is falsely giving the women and girls this sense of privacy and an expectation of privacy away from men, all right? So in a woman's restroom, the women and girls have a reasonable expectation of privacy away from men. So if a man were to follow them in there and look at them using the restroom, that is by nature exploitative. In the same way, because the same women and girls have the same reasonable expectation of privacy away from men and boys in a woman's dressing room. In the same way, if a man or a boy were to walk into a woman's dressing room and look at their naked bodies, that is by nature exploitive.
Dean, you're making me need my anxiety pack, bro.
I'm happy that I'm stressing you out.
No, I'm just, I just cannot believe that you live in this hypothetical world. I can't stand it.
I can't believe you're a
It's
rapist
not
protector.
good
Actually, I
way
can.
to make
A
arguments.
lot of
It
them
really
out there.
isn't.
I think it is, and my proof is
No,
it's
Very
not. You
thin
can't
line
get a
between a
counter-argument.
rapist protector and
just
a
whining.
rapist.
No, I'm just saying that you're using the
prove that it's not
recording
good.
of
Prove
Howard
that it's
Stern
not
to
good.
try to like say that Trump is some deviant when I would be playing replays of Joe Biden sniffing
already
kids in the
wrong.
White House.
You're already wrong. You said a clip
Bro,
of
I
Howard
could,
Stern.
I
No,
could,
it's
like,
a
I
clip
could
of
literally,
Trump.
Dean, it would be like me playing the videos of Biden sniffing kids in the White House over and over.
Okay.
We've all seen it.
All right. I have a question. There's clips of Biden sniffing people. Is there a
Yeah,
possibility?
like young girls
not
sniffing them
incredibly
and
low.
whispering them in their ears and shit, grabbing girls and pulling them near him.
Well,
Fucking
no.
weird.
Is there a possibility, although incredibly low, that those videos are fake? AI generated.
Dude, they're
CGI,
not
so on and
AI
so forth.
generated. This was like before
That's
the
not,
AI.
that's not what I'm asking you. Is there a possibility, although infinitesimally low, that those videos are fake, made by CGI?
The ones of Joe Biden at the White House.
Is there that
photo-
possibility, even though it's really, really, really low, right? Like, so many people would have to be in on it. All of, like, the people with cameras in the rooms would have to be a part of, like,
So you're
the
saying like a
fighting
fake?
the ball.
You're saying like a fake moon landing hoax kind of a thing.
Is there a small possibility that those videos are fake?
Yes.
Well, by your logic, then therefore they are fake, because that's exactly what you were saying. That's exactly what you were saying about that Trump Howard Stern interview. I gave you all of the reasons why it is certainly true that this is a real clip of Donald Trump admitting to something that he actually did. And your counter-argument was to say, well, because some very low likelihood exists that they could be fake, therefore they are fake, therefore he is lying. Well, thank you so much for throwing that argument out the window. This is embarrassing for you. Honestly, this is your worst performance yet.
Hold on, no. The only reason why I would say the Biden videos are not AI generated is because I saw that before AI generated videos even came out.
Right, but they still had CGI. We could still fake videos with CGI, so they're possibly CGI.
I guess, but highly unlikely in the event that was taking place in the video.
This is my argument. It is technically possible that Donald Trump was lying, but just very highly unlikely.
Okay, whatever. Great.
Is this what the look of doom, despair, and defeat looks like? I like it.
No.
I want to see it more.
No,
when you
it's
join,
not doom and despair.
I want all the Trump supporters in the queue to make sure that you're ready to turn your camera on and put your face on it, so I can see the same look of doom, despair, and defeat on your face too. This is great.
No,
this is
no
awesome.
doom, no despair. The fight has just begun.
I mean, you're literally saying whatever as you frown and look off to the side frantically, talking about how you need an anxiety pen.
That's fine and dandy, Dean. The point is, the man was not running for president, and he was.
Tell me, why does that matter?
Publicity.
Why does that matter?
He's looking for some. Dude, at that time, Howard Stern was pretty popular.
Mm-hmm. Well, if we could just say that it gave them publicity, therefore we could assume that they were lying and assume that they were looking for publicity. All that this means is every predator and pedophile ever caught by Gideon or, I don't know, Gideon's dad, what's his name? Chris Hansen, right? Well, we could just assume that they were lying about being a predator, and the only reason why they said they were predators was to look for publicity.
Well, the thing about it, the Chris Hansen, is they have text messages of them doing it, though.
We could assume that they knew it was a setup and still went through with it for publicity.
Probably unlikely, but...
And you know what? They've actually tried to make that argument in court before. And the response from the courts to that argument from the people that were caught on the shows was, well, just because you can identify a potential motive for why one would lie in this scenario, the reputational damage makes it highly unlikely that one actually would lie in this scenario.
Well, yeah, because
and then they're thrown in jail. So you issuing that hypothesis for Trump on this radio show is once again just going to be thrown out for the same reason the defense theories and legal arguments from the predators caught on Chris Hansen's show were.
Again, you're comparing men texting underage boys in some cases, 12 years old and shit,
to Donald Trump
owning a pageant, and he never said.
You've already agreed.
They were young girls.
You've already agreed.
They were women.
You've already agreed that him owning the pageant doesn't matter. B, well, who did say it was young girls was the 3 teens from Miss Teen USA in 1997. But even if you were able to prove me wrong there and demonstrate that he just did it to women, D, it's still sexual violence, because woman or girl, if you look at their naked bodies without their consent, it's sexually violating them.
Come on, dude. Come on, stop it. You know damn well they weren't unclothed when he went in there. They probably were.
So.
Yeah, he's just trying to act tough on a stupid show.
Prove it.
I'll be honest with you, it doesn't matter to me because I didn't vote
I
for him.
I want you to prove it. The same way I gave you proof he wasn't lying. The corroborating testimony from the victims, other instances of SA, other instances of rape, the Epstein files, so on and so forth, the fact that the motivations to lie just simply aren't there for this. Okay, so what is your evidence? What is your proof that he was lying? Because you just speculated that as a claim. Now I want you to provide the evidence for that claim.
Who was blocking grand jury files of Epstein?
The law. Now tell me. The law.
Yeah.
Now tell me.
Bullshit.
Once again, what is the evidence for the claim that Donald Trump was lying in that interview clip? You've speculated that 1 billion times. You've repeated it over and over again. What is the evidence?
I can't prove anything. I'm just telling you. You're just you're blowing it up out of proportion.
Oh my God. You heard him say it here first, folks. That's MAGA. I can't prove anything. We know.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
That's exactly what you said. Word for word, syllable for syllable, bar for bar.
I didn't vote for Trump because he was like my pastor or anything like that. I don't have a pastor, but I'm saying I didn't vote for him because he was, a saint or anything like that.
Yeah.
And
So in other words, what you're saying is if you knew he did it, you'd still have voted for him.
Compared to
Kamala Harris.
up against him, yeah, because look, man, I have a legitimate. Listen, I have a legitimate. Yeah, I would still vote for him. Yes, because here's the thing.
Say I would still vote for Donald Trump if he sexually violated women and little girls. Say it.
I'm not saying that. Fuck.
Why not?
Because I'm not saying that.
Why not?
Because he didn't do it.
No, but you said if he did, you would still vote for him. So say I would still vote for Trump if he sexually violated women and little girls.
This is another hypothetical that I'm not going to get.
Why not? Why won't you say it?
Because I hate your hypotheticals.
Well, I thought that you said you had respect for Christians, and Jesus used parables. I'm using hypotheticals. Okay, it's important to engage in critical abstract thought to prove points here. Go ahead and repeat that statement.
No,
because you said you would still do it if you knew he had done it with certainty. Because the thing is, if you don't repeat that statement because you quote-unquote hate hypotheticals, you basically hate Christians. You're an anti-Christian, communist, Marxist, Leninist, Stalinist, atheistic, naturalistic perv. So go ahead and repeat that statement, please.
No, I will not.
Why?
Okay, so here's the thing. I voted for Trump because I see, the left really a permanent bureaucracy, in my opinion. Okay, what was I talking about again? What were we talking about before you completely derailed?
You're saying that you still vote for Trump if he was a sexual predator because the left is permanent bureaucracy.
Okay, no, what I'm saying is the left, controls like all of big tech, academia, NGOs. You said yourself that you thought that the bill, the AKA Stop Nick Shirley Act, was a clear violation of our First Amendment rights. Now, how do you feel about it passing the state assembly 57-17?
Loud buzzer sound. No, I said if it genuinely prevents journalism, then it is a blaring violation of the First Amendment. I haven't read it. Likely neither have you. Loud buzzer.
Okay, so that's not what you said.
That is what I said.
No. It's
I'll give you $100 if you could prove otherwise.
Well, it does violate our First Amendment rights.
Have you read the bill?
Yeah.
Okay, prove it. I'm gonna pull the bill up. I'm gonna pull the bill up right now.
It's like 24, 26, I believe.
And I want you to cite a quote from this bill.
They call it the Stop Nick Shirley Act.
I know, but I want you to cite a quote from this bill. Because you said that you've read it?
I have to bring it up. I don't have it memorized now. I don't memorize things like you. But
well, just tell me like one thing that you remember from the bill. How does it open?
I'll bring it up. 1 second.
You're going to bring it up. You're going to go online and look it up because you know you haven't read it yet. Okay. What's next?
No, I'll bring it up and
What's next? How about this? What's one bad policy Kamala Harris ran on?
Her presidential?
Yeah.
The tax credit was terrible.
For whom?
For first home-time buyers, but you have to read into it more. It was only for non-first generation Americans.
Okay.
So basically for people who are fucking just got here.
Okay. So no, what you were misunderstanding because you're unintelligent is it doesn't say first generation Americans. It says first generation home buyers.
Yeah, first generation home buyers. So basically,
right.
First generation means like my parents came here and I was born.
Prove it.
That's what first generation is.
Give me a source.
Okay. So I would be considered first generation. Because my dad was an immigrant.
Can you give me a source for that?
Not just what it is, just what it is.
Okay, source please.
My brain.
Okay, that's not a source.
Okay.
Try again.
Okay, well, whatever. Am I wrong? Then tell me what it is.
I'm sorry, you're trying to burden shift. So you have the burden of evidence.
There. I can hear your
this is a burden shift.
Away.
This is a burden shift, old man.
I can hear you.
You have the burden of evidence.
Click.
You have the burden of evidence to prove that your claim is true. I do not have the burden of evidence to prove that your claim is false.
Yeah, but you're the host, man. Bring it up on the computer.
Me being the host changes nothing.
Dude,
Me being the host doesn't change the rules
my
of the
live,
debate.
bro. I bring this shit up on my computer and show it on the screen.
That's very kind of you, okay, but I don't need to, neither do you, because the
You don't
person who
care.
has the burden of proof is the person who makes the claim. Have you ever heard of the burden shifting fallacy? No, because you are not a serious debater, that's fine. A burden shifting fallacy is where a person makes a positive claim in a debate that they cannot substantiate by providing sufficient evidence.
Okay,
for
well,
it to
I
be
can tell
true.
you one thing.
And then, when the other person asks them for the sufficient evidence to prove it to be true, they then attempt to shift the burden of evidence from them, even though they made the positive claim, to the other person. But because I'm a nice guy, you are wrong, and I can prove you're wrong. If you go on the internet, you type in AEI, determining the price impact of Harris's down payment assistance proposal. Once again, that is AEI, and the AEI is, let's see, the American Enterprise Institute. They go over who would qualify for it, and there's nothing in these qualification legislative boundaries that would prohibit non-first generation children of immigrants or anybody but them, and it just simply states first-time home buyers.
So I was wrong, actually. The first generation is the immigrant themselves born abroad. My bad. So you literally are not
I was
American.
wrong earlier when I said it even mentioned first generation anything.
So it's her bills, her $25,000 tax credit is even worse. It's not even for second generation Americans who were born in the United States.
Yeah, you can say that, but you can't provide evidence.
Only for people who came here.
Just because you're getting louder doesn't mean that your claim is more likely to be true, you freak. I gave you a source from the American Enterprise Institute that says otherwise, and you've given me no sources to prove that it is just for first generation immigrants.
You asked me what a first generation was, and I just told you it's even worse.
It doesn't include anything about first generation anything in the bill.
No, Dean. I thought it was when your parents come here and then you're born.
I'm putting you on mute because I need you to listen. Nowhere within the proposed eligibility requirements for this $25,000 subsidy does it at any point mention first generation anything. I have given you a source.
You told me it did.
And I was wrong when I said that. I gave you a source from the American Enterprise Institute that demonstrates that once again, anybody who is a first-time home buyer is eligible for this $25,000 subsidy.
Okay, so someone said when you lose, you mute me. I agree with that one.
I muted you because I've already re-explained this to you 4 times now, and you're continually repeating yourself. And I think the reason why is because you're not listening to me. You're just kind of waiting for your time to speak.
Listen.
And if I put you on mute, then you're kind of forced to listen to me.
I always listen to you.
Okay, so do you concede your claim? Because I asked you to name a bad policy from Harris's. You said this $25,000 subsidy because it was just for immigrants. The facts say otherwise. Go ahead and concede.
Okay, well, I concede. Whatever.
Okay, back to the drawing board. What is one bad policy that Kamala Harris ran on?
Look, when she was in office as the VP,
I could use that $25,000
This isn't a
I
bad
haven't bought a
policy
house
that she
yet, so
ran
that
on.
would include me
Name one bad
getting
policy
that
that
bonus.
she ran on.
If you voted for Trump, you took that away from me,
copying
you
and
fucking piece
pasting
of shit.
Trump's child tax policy.
Okay.
Child tax credit.
Okay, so you're wrong. What you meant to say is copy and pasting Donald Trump's new tax on tips, not the child tax credit.
No, tax credit. No, child tax credit.
We got
yes.
3 of
What
us
makes you
living
say
in a
that?
2-bedroom apartment.
Because that's what she
The
literally
5-year-old running
copied
around
Trump's.
doesn't have enough room, doesn't have a
How do you know
backyard
that?
to
Because
play
she
in.
said it.
She said she
We're
got
going to
Trump?
extend the child tax credit, which Trump implemented. So she was piggybacking off of Trump's shit.
Actually, no. They implemented an extension for an increase in the child tax credit with the American Rescue Plan in 2021. We've had child tax credits forever now.
Okay, so again,
There's been child tax credits.
another
child
one I
tax
would like.
credits predate Kamala Harris, predate Trump, predate Biden, predate all of their political runs on the federal level. So do you concede again that you were wrong to argue that Kamala Harris's child tax credit was bad?
All I said was she stole it. That's all I'm saying.
And you don't have any evidence for that. You shouldn't believe in things you don't have evidence for.
What is the best kitchen hack you have learned from TikTok?
You notice behind me there's a Ferrari. If you're on a spirited drive, you're driving down the highway, you're ripping it, you're cutting corners, you're having your daily ride. Well, you pull into that garage floor, if you let it sit on a traditional epoxy floor, it's going to peel right up. With polyaspartic garage floor coatings in the Nashville area from my garage floor guys, it is not coming up. With our floors, there's not going to be any hot tire pickup because our floors, polyaspartic, is engineered against it. If it's not a fast car, but it's a heavy car, a G-Wagon, a Tesla, 2500, 3500, anything that's heavier than your normal, our polyaspartic floors are engineered to withstand.
Oh, okay. She also said she was trying to
do you
protect
concede?
democracy.
No, do you concede?
Dude, she was trying to protect
Do
democracy.
you concede? Do you concede your claim that Kamala Harris's child tax credit was bad? The child tax credit was introduced in 1997, before Trump, before Kamala Harris, before Biden, before Obama. Do you concede?
I'm just saying, it was Trump's.
Trump was president in 1997? It's literally, the child tax credit has been extended with every revision of the tax code and policy since 1997, including under Obama in his 2 terms, including under Donald Trump in his first term, including under Biden in his 1 term, and the include proposal was under Kamala Harris in her term if she had won.
So, I'm going to explain to everybody. So, Kamala Harris, she bragged about extending the child tax credit and helping families, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so the major expansion of the actual tax credit was actually done by Donald Trump in 2017. Okay, you understand? You follow me here?
There was a major expansion in 2017
Under
of the Tax Cuts and Jobs
tax
Act.
cuts
I'm
and
familiar.
Jobs Act.
Just like there was an even larger expansion under Biden with the American Rescue Plan in 2001. Just like there was a major expansion under Obama in his first term and in his second term. There's, like I said, there's literally an expansion to the child tax credit with every president that we've had since 1997.
Yes, my guy.
Answer me this: was Donald Trump's expansion to the child tax credit bad because he stole that idea from Obama, who expanded it before him?
No, what I'm saying.
Then Kamala Harris's proposed expansion to the child tax credit wasn't bad because even though she quote unquote stole that from Donald Trump's expansion in 2017.
What I'm saying is she did because all she wasn't. Oh my God, bro! Literally, it was Trump that doubled the child tax credit from $1,000 to $2,000 per child. He made more of it refundable as well. And
it was doubled again by the American Rescue Plan. And then Kamala Harris had proposed to double it again to $5,000 to $6,000 for the first year of a child's life.
My guy, Harris and the Democrats later tried to take credit for the popular policy. Okay, they claimed they wanted to expand it further.
Yes, okay, which was true.
Yeah, but it was. Oh my God, whatever, dude.
Just like Donald Trump wanted to expand it further. Just like Obama expanded it further, just like Biden expanded it further.
Thank you. They were stealing Trump's policies. Great, cool.
So therefore Donald Trump stole Obama's policies.
That's not true.
Because Obama expanded it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is he doubled it and he made it more refundable.
Okay, and then Biden doubled it, and then he made it even more refundable. Then Kamala Harris ran on doubling it. Yes, over the American Rescue Plan, he nearly doubled the child tax credit from $2,000 to $3,600.
Okay, so they're all copying Trump, is what you're saying?
Well, they're just all expanding the child tax credit, including Trump and Obama, the president before Trump.
Okay, listen. You just proved me right.
Well, no, I didn't prove you right, because you are failing to track the logic, because in order for you to track the logic here, you have to say that Trump copied Obama because Obama expanded the child tax credit before Trump.
I'm telling you, they were piggybacking off of Trump's policy.
So did Trump piggyback off of Obama?
We're going to fucking expand it further.
So did Trump piggyback off of Obama?
We care about people.
Did Donald Trump piggyback off of Obama?
Oh my, no.
Why?
Because he more than doubled it.
Oh, okay. So if they increase it, then it's not a piggyback. So because Biden increased it, it wasn't a piggyback. Because Kamala Harris wanted to increase it, it wasn't a piggyback.
No, because they have no policy of their own.
Wait, so then therefore Donald Trump didn't have any policy of his own because Obama increased the child tax credit before Trump?
No, because Donald Trump is more popular, so they want to take things that he does and copy it.
Wait, so
not very popular right now,
you
you
equation?
dipshit.
I don't think so. What matters here is if your argument is that Kamala Harris was stealing Donald Trump's policy because he increased the child tax credit before her, then Donald Trump was stealing Obama's policy because he increased the child tax credit before him.
Who won the popular vote?
What does this have to do with any argument about theft of policy?
I'm just saying, who's more popular?
Obama was more popular than Donald Trump.
I'm talking about Obama.
Okay, well, yes, Obama's relevant to this conversation because Obama expanded the child tax credit before Trump. We are talking about Obama. The reason why we have to talk about Obama is tracking your logic. Donald Trump stole Obama's policy. And listen, now you have to concede on this point because now you're trying to introduce this concept of popularity through approval ratings or throughout how many votes they get in the Electoral College or the popular vote. Well, because Obama was more popular than Donald Trump wanted to steal some of that limelight by increasing and expanding the child tax credit just like Obama had.
Are you done?
I am.
Okay. All I'm saying is Trump doubled it, and they were just piggybacking off of the same things that he was running off of. They're copying him, is all I'm saying.
So then Trump copied Obama.
If you sit on the toilet, bear down, and barely anything comes out. You don't have constipation, you have poop paralysis. And the difference between the two is everything.
You can't have both ways. You like something if you Trump.
You got the, I think he has us, you know, in terms of America, I think he's like, I think he really doesn't care for America. I think he really does want America first. Not saying that Harris doesn't. But I do feel like at the end of the day, he's got the back off for it. He's got the wind up. I don't think that Harris would have as much of a diplomatic, you know, when it comes to like overseas and stuff. I think she wouldn't have as much of international presence as Trump does, and I don't know if it would be smart to throw her in there. Is my personal opinion.
By international presence, do you mean like involving herself in foreign wars, or do you mean by like her diplomacy was not as strong with foreign countries?
Her diplomacy, but I mean, obviously we're at war. Iran wants to fight everybody, so it doesn't really matter. But obviously Iran's not so happy with Trump at the moment, based on the giant flags and the huge posters, and we know what it says. You can't really say it on TikTok, but I just don't feel that Kamala would have had as much of an impact on us, positive, negatively. I think she would have had a very much Obama type run. I don't know how to really put it, where he just kind of was there. He didn't do a lot of good or bad. Where Trump has tried to do a lot of good, and unfortunately, it's just there's a lot of stuff in his way. I just feel like there's just so much bad, it's hard to make it good. I think it just takes a long time to make America great again. I don't think it's just something that happens. I think it takes more than even one president, one run. I think you'd have to be there for 12 years to even make an impact. I think anybody would have to be honest with you.
So you can take a look here. This is from Pew Research, a very reputable institution that overlooks a bunch of information. And this was a question that was asked between an 18 through 24 country median of a bunch of our country's allies, specifically of percentage who think that Donald Trump would do the right thing regarding world affairs, or a percentage of that thinks Vice President Kamala Harris would do the right thing regarding world affairs. And if you look at Donald Trump's 24 country median, you see actually 34% right confidence in the right thing. You can see confidence right here. You scroll down, 34% confidence, 62% no confidence. For Harris, on an 18 country median, 55% confidence, 33% no confidence.
I mean, I guess at the end of the day, right, there's only one way to really find out who would be the better person, right? We'd have to put her in there and see what's going on. Do I oppose putting Kamala in there to see if she'd be the right person for the job? No. But based on your current, your question about who I would vote for at the moment, I would probably still put my hat on Trump. There are things I don't like. We're not supposed to love a candidate 100%. It's just not possible to love everything a candidate stands for. It's just, just not even logical. I mean, obviously, I don't like his stance on abortion because abortion should never be illegal because it's not fair to take that away from people entirely. There's certain circumstances that cause the need for it. People have died because
I'm almost impressed.
Not getting the health care that they need.
Be right back.
Disgusting in every way possible. So there are things where I think that he just missed the mark big time. And I don't think he's missed the mark on everything, though. And I think it kind of goes both ways until you put the other personality in there. I don't think we're gonna really know. I almost want to see Kamala sit there just to see
Kamala.
I said her name right every time except that time.
Yeah, no, it's muscle memory at this point. So the point that I would bring up to you is that based upon the argument you provided, it would say that she's preferable to our allies. She's more respected around the world, especially amongst our allies, which means that she'll be able to command more power around the world from our allies, right? Or than Donald Trump is.
Do you think that's because he's burnt the bridges that he really shouldn't have burnt was tariffs and stuff? Now,
this is actually before all the tariffs. It's even worse now. But this is before all the tariffs. Yeah.
Wow. I know I did see something like that about that, but to me, it didn't seem like it seemed like he'd have so much more experience in foreign affairs, just based on his business and everything, just based on what he does around, but at the same time, Kamala does have, she's bright, and I'm not going to take anything from her. I think that you put her in front of some dictator, she'd probably find herself, useful on that table, but until we actually see her on that stage, I don't know how we can really decide. You know what I mean? It's like anything. It's like, oh, I'm going to be the best baseball player in the world, and then you step on that mound, you never hit a home run, right? So,
well, you're going to do so based on their experience. Like, she has an experience being a senator, being a vice president, being a district attorney, an attorney general. I think that's a lot better of experience than Donald Trump having 6 bankruptcies after inheriting $400 million accounting for inflation from his dad. So it's just like, I think that although you could say, oh, you might expect business experience to be good for these things, it seems like it's not. He's made basically every metric of the economy worse off since he's gotten office. Real GDP growth has slowed. Real median wage growth has slowed. We've seen unemployment increase. We've seen inflation increase.
I will say that my stock's been decent, but not really because of him. He had no real direct correlation with stocks.
And even so, it's grown at a lower rate since he got in office comparative to the last year and a half under the Biden-Harris administration. If you look at S&P 500 and Dow Jones and NASDAQ.
I did have a little bit more money when Biden was in there, I'm not going to lie. But I also do feel like maybe his approach was wrong. Maybe trying to use the United States as a business entirely might not have been the right way to go. He should have been a little bit more diplomatic. He should have been a little bit more. There's things he really should have done that he didn't do, where he just kind of like tried to strong arm it and be like, I'm just going to run the United States like it's just a straight up business. And maybe we thought that's what we needed, but it turns out there's a lot more nuts and bolts in there that he just didn't figure out, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Unfortunately. I mean, I don't hate the man. I hate some of the things he's done, obviously, or allegedly done, I'll put it that way. Because he's never been convicted of these things. So
yes, he's been convicted of 34 felonies. He's been held liable of sexually abusing E. Jean Carroll. He was forced to pay $5 million to her a few days ago.
oh damn, I missed a few days ago thing. That just changed my entire thoughts about Trump. I mean, I think if you're forced to pay someone money, you did it. You're guilty. So why is he even sitting in the seat then?
Exactly.
Still the president of the United States. Like, it makes you wonder. I mean, at the end of the day, money talks, right? So that's probably why he's still sitting there. But
So you don't support Trump now that you've heard that?
well, I mean, now that I feel like there's a lot more against him, and I mean, I've always kind of had my thoughts. Maybe people who are that rich and kind of do some really shady stuff. I don't know why, but well, yeah, man, that's crazy. I actually didn't know about the $5 million thing.
Well, you could go take a look at that. That happened recently. There was an entire jury of 9 people that unanimously determined that he sexually abused E. Jean Carroll, and that's why he was just forced a few days ago to pay up the $5 million because the Supreme Court wouldn't take his case.
Wow. I mean, maybe it's that then. Maybe we've all closed our eyes to the big orange man and just thought that he was going to fix us, and turns out that he wasn't trying to fix anything. Maybe he wasn't. He just got turned around, and he stayed so turned around that he couldn't find his way back to what the hell he was really trying to do.
I would say he definitely didn't, because he's prevented the release of the Epstein files. He's called them a hoax. He said that anyone who wanted the release of the Epstein files in the first place never supported him, which I think anyone should be able to look at and be like, wow, that's like, that in of itself is enough reason for me to stop supporting him.
Yeah, no, it was the Epstein thing. I was kind of like, you know, the Epstein files definitely are terrible. I mean, oh my God, there's not a worse thing. There's not a worse read in the world that doesn't make you cringe, doesn't make you literally gag. The Epstein stuff is real and disgusting, and calling it a hoax is just kind of like saying, it didn't happen.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It did. And I guess if you have your name in the book more than Jesus' name is in the Bible, which is legit, like actually legit, then, I mean, that's actually kind of crazy. I'll tell you what, Parker, I've listened to you a long time, and I've actually been on here quite a bit. I've actually been a guest too a couple times, but you might have swayed me. I mean, do I think we should have a better candidate than Kamala? I think Kamala's still great, but I think we have other options. I think as America, we sell ourselves short on our candidates. It feels like a lot of times that it is. And we just need to have more quality candidates to begin with.
So we need all to do? We need to involve ourselves in the primaries. So many people say that and then forget to involve themselves in the primaries, forget to vote in the primaries. And that is your time to be able to change how the party operates, to be able to influence the future of these parties, to be able to bring more accountability to politics is the primary process. So that's why I tell everyone to engage in the primary process, stay involved in politics, don't just be the person that only involves themselves once the election hits, because then you won't be able to influence the parties in the first place, which, by the way, a lot of people who vote in the elections, they do not vote in the primaries. Your vote in the primary, if anything, means more than your vote in the election on countless situations, right? For the future of how the party operates, not necessarily for like the policies that are passed, but for the future of the party.
Yeah, and honestly, you're right. I mean, midterms is really where most of it happens. A lot of people misview that, and they think, hey, I got to vote at the end, and da-da-da. But your voice never was really heard. At the end, you're just kind of like throwing your name in the hat. You're throwing your name at a name that you're just like, okay, I only got 3 names I can really choose, maybe 2. It's not all that matters. But really, it's actually who are kind of important to candidates don't have enough voices behind them. It's kind of sad, because there are some candidates that would blow both of them away that we never even see.
Well, I appreciate you coming up. Thank you very much for coming up. Okay, why do you support Trump?
Yeah, on the crop insurance side of things, I mean, making that more available to the farmer side of things, that side of it, agriculture, live and breathe it every day, and to support a lot of things that he's done for agriculture.
I would say that he's actually made agriculture worse off because of his imposed tariff policy, which disenfranchised the agricultural industry within the country, which is why he even had to impose those policies in the first place to counteract the negative impacts of the tariffs.
Okay. Yes, I agree on some of those tariffs, yes, but looking at it not from a trade standpoint, but but more on a financial side for farmers. I think it's helped a lot. Passing the farm bill was huge. Granted, 98% of that farm bill doesn't have a lot to do with farming. It does a lot with the welfare side of it in terms of food stamps and that act.
Okay, so yeah, that's still in response to the tariff. So he only imposed that to counteract the effects of the tariff. So I don't know if that's a win. I think that's more of like you just stay the same if you're a farmer. Whatever, and that's for the people who are helped. What about all the farmers who aren't helped through the context of the Farm Bill, that were disenfranchised by the tariffs being put in place? Because it's not just that the tariffs are put in place, it's also that other countries will place tariffs on our products, which then make it harder for us to sell our goods in other countries. Hello? Can everyone hear me? Did I just lag out, or is there a problem? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
My internet must be bad. I didn't hear anything you had just said. I'm sorry.
What's the last thing you heard?
You had gone on and back into the tariff side of it, and then it cut out.
I was essentially just saying, like, it doesn't really put you in any preferable condition. It kind of just puts you in the same position you would have been without the tariffs being in place in the first place. And it disenfranchises a bunch of farmers who weren't benefited by the Farm Bill.
Gotcha. Well, my farm, looking on my side of it, it's helped me a lot. Crop insurance is really hard to get, and it didn't cover a lot, especially on the flooding side of things. And with the update of the crop insurance side of it, it really helped me. So,
I mean, we could argue that those things are good aspects of the bill, but take into consideration the effects overall, it doesn't seem like you benefit farmers from that respect, let alone the rest of the economy. The economy is struggling right now, compared to what it was at the end of the Biden administration. We've seen real GDP growth slow. We've seen real median wage growth slow. We've seen unemployment
Hey, Austin, how you doing?
Increase.
Thanks for
We've
joining
seen
the
real
stream.
domestic manufacturing investment decline every single quarter of Trump's administration so far.
but do you think with the tariffs in place, he's always about America first, America first, America first. With the tariffs, what do we need to do to come back to a country that's more dependent upon ourselves? I know fertilizer comes across the seas quite a bit. Strait of Hormuz has really put a downside to buying fertilizer. But, with tariffs, I feel like those can be imposed and bring back some industry back to America versus relying on.
I'm doing okay. Thanks for
That
asking.
makes sense.
But that relies on increasing the costs, right? And also, it's harder to bring back that industry to the United States when we've seen a real domestic manufacturing investment decline every quarter of Trump's administration so far. So if the tariffs actually were bringing back manufacturing to this country, why is that declined?
Valid point.
Because I think it's increased the cost of products that manufacturers rely upon within this country, which makes the manufacturing process more expensive, which disincentivizes people to engage in the manufacturing process within the country. So I actually think it's done the exact opposite of what Trump's wanted it to do, because of the fact that it's universalized and not targeted in the notion of the tariffs. Like targeted tariffs, they build up domestic manufacturing, but universalized tariffs, it seems like they don't.
I guess we'll have to see how it plays out, in the long run after everything settles for a little bit.
Well, the tariffs actually will be away soon. Remember, as tariffs were deemed to be unconstitutional by the Supreme Court, and the tariffs that he used to put in place are only going to be in place for like 150 days, which is supposed to be done by the end of the summer.
Yeah, I thought it said somewhere around the mid-August is when it's supposed to be done. So, well, we'll come back and see then. So,
is there any other reason why you support Trump?
I try to stay out of everything else. I've heard you guys talk a lot about abortion. I mean, I don't agree with it, but at the same time, I'm not going to tell you what you can and can't do to yourself. So, I'll stay in my lane, and everyone can stay in theirs, I reckon.
No, well, okay, that seems to be good. Is there anything else that you do align with Trump on that would get you to support him, or would you just say that you're not informed on a bunch of the other topics? insofar
Some
as
of the
it
other
probably wouldn't
topics,
be
not
okay
so
to say.
much. I most times keep my head down and just go from there, I guess, if that makes sense.
Okay, for sure. Well, I appreciate you coming up. Make sure to look into those things, and you're welcome to come back in the future after you do so.
Hey, you bet. Have a good one, man.
You as well.
With Wawa's rewards program, you can earn points every day. When you gotta get rewarded, you gotta Wawa.
You haven't seen the sun in days. So at this point, it'd be easier to just fly to it. Come on, book it. It's easy. Booking.com. Booking.yeah.
I'm glad to be joined by Hakeem Jeffries. Thanks so much for joining me.
Good to be with you.
So we obviously had a major victory in Virginia. This is something that you had worked on for a long time, and I want to get into your participation in all of this. But before I do, the map right now as it stands looks to be mostly set except for the state of Florida. And so in light of the results that we've seen in California, in light of the court decision that we saw adding a seat in Utah, in light now of the referendum results in Virginia, what would your message be to Ron DeSantis as they consider engaging in a gerrymander on top of the existing gerrymander?
That's exactly right. The map in Florida that already exists was gerrymandered in 2022. And so to the extent they try to take some additional seats in a map that was already gerrymandered, what Ron DeSantis will accomplish is placing additional Republican incumbents in jeopardy. And that's the reason why, Brian, so many Florida Republicans quietly have gone to the White House and have gone to the governor telling him not to go down this road. It was a disaster for them in Texas, where they claim they're going to take 5 seats away from us. They'll be fortunate in Texas if they get to 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And they're going to lose at least one Republican incumbent as a result of the Texas dummy-mander. And now Ron DeSantis is considering making the same mistake in Florida.
Can you talk a little bit more about what you've heard from these other Florida Republicans? Because that's been floating around the zeitgeist a little bit, but obviously we don't have as good insight as I'm sure you do in terms of what these people are saying to the governor.
Well, particularly in light of the continued electoral success that Democrats have had. We've now won elections for 16 consecutive months, starting with an Iowa State Senate race in January of 2025, running all the way through what just happened in Wisconsin, where we won a state Supreme Court race by 20 points in the state that Donald Trump had just won in November of 2024. And of course, we've won special elections in Texas in January of this year, where we overperformed by 31 points.
Yeah.
And then we won a special election in Louisiana in a House race.
Both of these not exactly liberal bastions, right?
No doubt about it. Conservative, suburban Texas, and then rural Louisiana.
Yeah.
The home state of Mike Johnson and Steve Scalise, where Donald Trump had won that district in 2024, I believe, by 13 points. The Democratic candidate won it by 24. That was a 37-point overperformance. That happened in February. And then in Florida, of course, we flipped the district in Palm Beach that is represented by Donald Trump lives in terms of Mar-a-Lago,
Yeah.
that is now represented by a Democrat. We also, of course, flipped the Miami mayorship for the first time in 30 years by 20 points. That was in December. And so as all of these wins stack up, Florida Republicans and Republicans across the country are getting nervous because they know that Donald Trump has been a failure. Republicans in Congress have been a failure. They have nothing positive to run on. They've now gotten us into this reckless and costly war of choice. And the last thing they need is to lose Republicans in their districts, which will happen if they try to gerrymander the map. Blue Chew Go delivered today. And you can get yours too. Go to BlueChew.com, drop 2 months, and get one for free. It'll have her obsessing over you. Watch this.
Baby, you are the best. I need you to give me that. You are a beast in the...
Get yours today. End of the map.
You know, in response to basically your warning to Ron DeSantis in light of the Virginia results, DeSantis had come out today and basically offered up some ad hominem attacks against you. Do you think that this is him in an actual confident state, or is this just him posturing because he knows he's in a shitty position right now?
Yeah, I think it's him posturing. And look, Ron DeSantis is a failed public servant, a failed governor, and a failed candidate for president. He's reeling right now. He's underwater in his own state. He's got no credibility. He's struggling. His presidential ambitions are done, finished, right? And he knows this at this point. He was groveling to try to become a cabinet secretary. Donald Trump shut him down.
Yeah.
So his whole world is falling apart. And now he's got a civil war going on in his own state with Republicans warning him that it will be a disaster to go down this road, because as Democrats, they know we're serious. When we say we're going to go into a state and we're going to compete heavily and aggressively, we're going to do it.
And by the way, that's a change from what we had seen before. And I think this redistricting fight is a good microcosm for exactly that, because I think for a long time, this is something I've been exceedingly critical of, is the idea that if Democrats are going to fight back, it's going to be in the form of a strongly worded letter, right? And now we're seeing instances where Democrats are saying, okay, you know what? If you're going to gerrymander these maps to engineer yourselves permanent majorities in the House, if Trump feels like he's entitled to 5 seats, that it's not going to be unilateral disarmament from the Democrats. They're actually going to fight back. And we saw that in California. We saw that now in Virginia. And of course, there's other offensive opportunities on the table. That includes New Jersey, New York, Colorado. You know, we'll see what happens as we get into the next midterm cycle, or the next general election cycle. But I want to talk about your participation in this, because I don't know that a lot of people know how involved in all of this you were. And in fact, even I wasn't until we had spoken a few months ago, and you are deep in the weeds of making this happen. And to your credit, you're both doing this and not out there taking all of the credit that you should. So I want to give you the opportunity right here to talk a little bit about what this process has been like for you, largely behind the scenes.
Yeah, well, it's been an all-hands-on-deck effort, and I'm so thankful that Democrats across the country have stepped up in a phenomenal way. That's the Democrats in Texas in the state legislature, who I went to visit in late July when this was first announced, to talk about how we can support their efforts to push back aggressively. And ultimately, they made the decision to go on quorum break, which was an important decision to leave the state, not to justify any of the foolishness that the Texas governor was trying to do upon being ordered by Donald Trump to do it, and to shine a national spotlight on Donald Trump's efforts to rig the midterm election. To me, that was sort of key. And then I had the opportunity to go visit them when they were hanging out in Illinois while the quorum break was underway, just to thank them and continue to encourage them, and to make it clear that we would support them all the way through their efforts to push back. That, of course, helped to inspire California responding. Governor Newsom was a tremendous leader in this effort, and very early on connected with Governor Newsom, talked to the California delegation led by Zoe Lofgren, the dean, and Pete Aguilar, the caucus chair, and of course Speaker Emerita Pelosi. And the California delegation did a tremendous job of leaning in, working with the governor, and working with the state legislative leaders, who I also had the opportunity to engage with as we were preparing to execute the California response through Prop 50, which we knew needed to be forceful and decisive, temporary.
And fast, by the way.
And fast. There's no doubt about it. At the same period of time, We knew that, and this has been going on now for 10 months, and it's one battle after another all across the country.
Yeah.
So we pushed them back in Texas and forced them into a dummy mander. We won Prop 50 in California. We picked up a seat in Utah that a Democrat will occupy after the November midterm elections. We stopped them in New Hampshire, stopped them in Indiana, stopped them in Kansas, and stopped them in Nebraska. We pushed them back in Ohio, and we're going to hold the 3 seats in Ohio that they thought they were going to be able to take away from us. That ain't happening.
Yeah.
And one of the ways in which we were able to successfully push them back in Ohio, working with the legislative leaders in the Ohio congressional delegation, is because when they saw we were serious in California and willing to go to the Met, it brought the Ohio Republicans to the negotiating table because they were
Okay, I gotta check
concerned
something out.
about a referendum
Yeah.
that would have freeze anything that they tried to do. And then, of course, working with Abigail Spanberger, our governor, she's been an amazing leader, Don Scott, the Speaker of the House, the legislative leaders and members of the Virginia General Assembly, the Virginia congressional delegation, and all along, President Barack Obama, who's been a forceful advocate for a strong response, and former Attorney General Eric Holder.
Yeah.
We've gotten to this point. But we're going to keep our foot on the gas pedal. And we're just in a moment of maximum warfare, everywhere, all the time. And the next battlefield is in Florida. And we mean it when we say we're going to go in hard if they tinker with this map and create additional opportunities for us to defeat Republican incumbents.
An Indeed profile can help jobs find you in your sleep. Like this. You'll still have to be awake to interview, though. Complete your Indeed profile and help jobs find you.
Republican incumbents.
Well, I think it's important to note that while we could and should celebrate this victory in Virginia, that obviously this fight will continue, especially in light of the fact that we have the Calais case, Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which is likely to come down any day now, and that will likely gut what's remaining of the Voting Rights Act, which means all of these black opportunity districts, which mandate black representatives in the deep South where there would otherwise be gerrymandered maps, those will likely go away, and that could mean a swing of a dozen, 2 dozen, maybe even more seats across the country. We also have the prospect in 2030 of the census getting handed down, and that taking seats away from traditionally or historically blue states and giving them to red states, and what they'll do with them is already clear. And so how does that make you think about the battlefield that we're looking at right now? I mean, I know I had mentioned New Jersey, New York, Colorado. How does it make you look at the rest of the map in light of what's coming down the pike?
Yeah, so we're going to continue to press forward, finish the job in 2026, and we're close to being able to do that right now. Republicans are down in the redistricting war that they started anywhere between 3 and 5 seats, and the DeSantis dummy mander is not going to help them out in Florida if they go down this road.
Yeah,
they got to finish the job in 2026, but as you mentioned, look to the 2028 cycle, because it's our expectation that Republicans will never learn the lesson of engaging in a way that is consistent with free and fair elections, because they've adopted voter suppression as a strategy, Brian, because these people have no ideas. They failed. They're a disaster. The economy's falling apart. The war is deeply unpopular. ICE is out of control. They got nothing. And yes, as Democrats, we're going to continue to articulate a vision for making life better for the American people, for driving down the high cost of living, fixing our broken healthcare system, making sure that everyone in America who works hard and plays by the rules, working class folks, middle class folks, communities of color, everyday Americans, you work hard, you play by the rules, you should be able to live an affordable life. a comfortable life and lived a good life. We're going to fight for that as Democrats. At the same period of time, we have to level the playing field and ensure that there are free and fair elections. We're going to do that in the 2026 cycle and then be prepared to respond aggressively in advance of 2028. So that looks like New York and New Jersey and Colorado and Washington at minimum.
Yeah.
And we're in the process of engaging with the governors and the legislative leaders in those states to set the possibility of changes in motion. So whatever the Supreme Court does, we're going to have the ability to respond and respond decisively.
I think what's important there is that all the while, like while this happens, Republicans are suddenly finding their conscience and denigrating the race to the bottom that is gerrymandering. Do you have a message to these Republicans in terms of, if they want to offer up national legislation to ban partisan gerrymandering nationwide, how amenable you would be to that, in very much the same way that we had every single Democrat vote for the Freedom to Vote Act back in 2021, and that in part would have banned partisan gerrymandering, and you had not a single Republican who voted in favor of it?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is what my grandmother used to tell me, which is, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. And they started this redistricting war. We are finishing it. At the same period of time, we believe, of course, that there should be one national standard.
Yeah.
And we're committed to working on that. That partisan gerrymandering and mid-decade gerrymandering should be prohibited in every state, not just blue states, in every state. And so that means we are committed to continuing to move the legislation forward that we've previously advanced that didn't get a single Republican member to support, but that perhaps they see the light of day now moving forward, having been pummeled in this fight that they started. And we've had at least a handful of Republicans or former Republicans turned independents like Kevin Kiley suggesting a willingness to now support that legislation. He, of course, is on his way out.
Right, he can do that as a private citizen now.
He can do that as a private citizen. It would have been nice for him to speak up while his party was actually trying to start this war that they thought they were going to win.
Right, I mean, that's the ultimate irony, is that all of these people who are clutching their pearls and having fainting spells right now didn't have a word to say when Donald Trump was sparking this movement off in Texas, and Greg Abbott decided to pick up the ball where Trump left off and engage in this whole process in the first place.
It's incredible to me that Donald Trump himself, apparently, at the Virginia rally, when he was urging his MAGA supporters to vote no, said gerrymandering is bad. Bro, you started this. And you only think it's bad right now when you're on the wrong side of our efforts to fight back.
Well, to that end, Donald Trump actually took to Truth Social today and wrote, "A rigged election took place last night in the great Commonwealth of Virginia. All day long, Republicans were winning. The spirit was unbelievable until the very end, when, of course, there was a massive mail-in ballot drop." Where have I heard that before? He goes on to spew out a few more conspiracy theories. But I actually think that this is instructive because it kind of gives us a preview into what Trump's defense here is going to be. He's not going to be leaning in to try and win votes by virtue of how he and his party, which has full control of government, govern. They're looking to just cry foul every time there's an election that they lose. But the way that they've been able to weaponize the positions of power that they hold right now are actually pretty dangerous, because you have Republicans across the country who are now seizing ballots. We saw that happen in Fulton County, Georgia. We saw that happen in Arizona. We just saw it happen this past weekend in Detroit. Meanwhile, you have Trump signing an executive order that would prohibit mail-in ballots nationwide, even though it's something that's secure enough for himself to use.
Right.
And then finally, you have him leaning on the Republicans to nuke the filibuster so that they could pass the Save America Act, which would do a ton of damage, but in part put the onus on people to have a passport to register to vote. Well, who's in charge of issuing passports? It's Donald Trump's federal government. So what does this tell you more broadly, this post that Donald Trump made about the weapons that he's preparing to use as we head toward midterms?
Well, the so-called Save America Act is a classic example of where Donald Trump's mindset is at. He said that passing this voter suppression legislation is more important than housing or lowering the high cost of living. Explicitly has said that. Of course, Donald Trump believes that the affordability crisis is a hoax. So we are
The
preparing.
affordability crisis that he ran and won on, by
That's
the way.
exactly right. Because for this guy, it was all about trying to seize power.
Yeah.
And he lied his way back into 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, promised to lower costs on day one, and of course, costs were skyrocketing out of control, including gas prices as a result of his reckless war of choice. But I think it does highlight for me the fact that we are operating under the assumption that Donald Trump is going to do everything he can to prevent the midterm elections from being free and fair. And voter suppression is their strategy. And we've embarked on an effort that I believe will be the largest voter protection effort in the history of modern day America. And that's going to involve House Democrats, Senate Democrats, the Democratic Governors Association, the DNC, the Democratic Attorney Generals Association, the Democratic Secretary of State Association, the Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee, those are the state legislators, working with the civil rights groups, organized labor, good government groups, civil liberties groups, democracy protection groups, and the faith community. And those efforts have been underway now for months in terms of planning, and we'll continue to intensify the public engagement over the next few months as we get inside of the 6-month countdown to the November general midterm election.
Do you have confidence, though, given the ease with which they can deploy the tools at their disposal, and the ease with which Trump has deployed these tools in the past? I mean, hell, we're talking about a guy who literally incited an insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. This is not someone who's going to be precious about when he decides to wield his power. I mean, this is somebody who's using the federal government to prosecute political enemies, judges, Democratic members of Congress, Democratic senators. I mean, the sky's the limit. Do you have confidence that, given the opposition that he's mounting and the tools that he has at his disposal, that we will have enough tools on our end to protect our free and fair elections?
Yeah, it's an important question, and we're systematically going after all of the ways in which he is going to try to undermine the ability for the American people to be the ones to make the decision as to who's in the majority in the next Congress, as opposed to Donald Trump trying to make that decision for them by rigging the midterm election. So we have to crush his gerrymandering scheme, and we're on our way to doing just that. We needed to stop his ability to deploy the National Guard. Donald Trump, if you recall, throughout much of last year, federalized the National Guard. And we believe that that was part of his effort, a trial run, to be able to unleash troops in cities, towns, counties, and municipalities in advance of the midterm elections to try to intimidate people from showing up. And so we immediately sued the hell out of him, working, of course, in partnership with our Democratic governors, Governor of California, Governor of Illinois, and the Governor of Oregon. That case went all the way up to the Supreme Court. And in December, in a 6-3 decision, with conservative justices like Justice Roberts, Justice Amy Coney Barrett, and one other Republican justice, Gorsuch, said no to the Trump administration and made clear that he does not have the power to federalize the National Guard over the objection of these governors. And Donald Trump was forced to withdraw these National Guard troops. And so we've taken that ability away from him. Now we're fighting the battle as it relates to ICE. And one of the demands that we've put on the table, the reason why DHS has not been funded by Republicans up until this point, we want to fund the other parts of DHS that don't involve ICE and the CBP violent mass deportation machine that Trump has unleashed on law-abiding immigrant communities and American citizens, in some cases getting them killed, as we saw horrifically in Minnesota. We've put on the table that ICE cannot conduct itself in sensitive locations in terms of operations. And that we've defined as houses of worship, schools, hospitals, and polling sites.
Yeah.
And we're going to continue to push for that because we want to remove the ability of this president to deploy ICE to intimidate communities across the country.
All right, well, we will leave it there. Leader Jeffries, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you much.
Trump is very clearly not taking the Virginia news well, so I'm going to read a post from Trump that sums up pretty nicely the aftermath of this redistricting fight, culminating in Virginia voting in favor of a redrawn map that will likely see 10 Democrats and 1 Republican in their congressional delegation. So Trump wrote, quote, "A rigged election took place last night in the great Commonwealth of Virginia. All day long, Republicans were..."
For their country, and that's really important.
Any true American patriot doesn't support Trump. You cannot tell me that you are proud to be an American, that you support the United States of America, and that you fall in line with core American values and support Trump as president, since he stands out of line with said core American values, and he puts a great stain not only on this country, but what it should represent. And take it away. Tell us why you support Trump.
I'm kind of disappointed sometimes hearing some of the members of my own party and how stupid they are. But, okay, I do love watching you. Why do I support Trump? Well, I'd say that I'm 37 years old, and through my years, I kind of figured out that most presidents are full of BS. I don't really think that there's really any president in history that you could say like they really stuck to their word of everything they've said on their campaign or whatever it is. People who are seeking power generally tend to kind of, play into and feed into their audience. So I can't really say, there's a lot of things that I find morally corrupt with Trump, but I can't really say that there was a good Democratic candidate that I could get behind.
Okay.
And I just want to say I would. There's a lot that I agree on.
I find you to be guilty of a big issue.
Go ahead.
The big issue I find you to be guilty of is assuming, because we can't point towards any politician that is perfect, therefore, the most imperfect politician that we've ever had is somehow permissible and falls right in line with all the
I'm
other
gonna grab some coffee. I'll be right back.
I am a business owner and I need to hire, one moment, if I'm a business owner and I need to hire a new employee and I'm interviewing individuals for the position, okay, I'm not expecting to find the perfect individual for the position. I'm not expecting to find Jesus 2.0, but while I'm going through the interview process and talking to everybody that is interested in the position, I'm still going to be mindful and critically think my way to find who the best out of all the options are, even if none of them are perfect, right? So although, for instance, Kamala Harris wasn't perfect, she still wasn't a 34-count felon adjudicated rapist that thinks the media should be controlled by the state and media organizations don't have the legal right to critique her. Although she's not perfect, she's not the one that passed the most expensive bill in American history, that did a great redistribution of wealth from the poor to the rich, and took health care away from 10 million low-income families. And those are the very clear and distinct differences that makes me hold special animosity towards Donald Trump that I truly haven't held towards a Democrat in a long time.
So I think that this is where you and I would disagree, and I think it's perfectly normal for us to disagree. I know you're passionate and you want the best for the American people, and you probably want the best for my family as I want the best for your family. I think where we disagree is that I don't think that Trump was the worst option. I think Kamala Harris would have been a worse option, and I'll tell you why. All of those things that you say about him being, a felon and all of these things, I really want to focus on the difference between his personal life and the policies that he is recommending for America and for the American people.
Okay. And I'll show you how they relate to one another.
And I think that we can make a parallel, just about with every candidate and everything that they've ever done wrong in their life. However, I'm going to give you just like a little example. one thing that I think is extremely important, and it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, and it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a liberal, or if you're a Christian or a Jew. I'm Jewish, by the way, and I do support the state of Israel, and we can talk about that as well. I think that it's really important to love and be proud of your country, to really have patriotism. And that doesn't mean that you have to be a racist, and it doesn't mean that you have to be white, and it doesn't mean that you have to be a Trump supporter. It just means that you are living in this country, and you should be proud of the country you're living for, and you should be asking yourself, what is your country doing
something horrible like what it is doing now?
That doesn't mean that you can't criticize your country. That doesn't mean that you can't find faults. No country is perfect. But I think that over the years, we kind of lost a little bit of that patriotism. And people have become kind of embarrassed to say they're American. And I really think that it is important for young people especially. If you look at all of these other countries who are against us in the world, China, Russia, Iran, Turkey, the main thing that they have is they have patriotism. They are really willing to die for their country, even though their country is not doing anything for them. But they have patriotism, and that's really important. And I think that regardless of your... Yeah, absolutely.
Any true American patriot doesn't support Trump. You cannot tell me that you are proud to be an American, that you support the United States of America, and that you fall in line with core American values and support Trump as president, since he stands out of line with said core American values, and he puts a great stain not only on this country, but what it should represent. I'll give you an example. And you agree that any American patriot, right, would support core American values, including the American Constitution?
Well, I would say that you can't really, with one, stroke of a brush, when, 5 million people in the popular vote go for this president, that obviously people feel that he does align with American values.
And I'm here to tell you that you're wrong, and I'm going to prove it to you through debate.
And I would say, too, that, being an American and having American values does not come down to an administration or 4 years. I've lived through multiple administrations. I've lived to Democratic administrations.
Can you answer the question that I asked you?
Core American values being what exactly are you?
Patriots support the American Constitution. The document that so many of our servicemen and women have either been willing to lose their lives to protect or have lost their lives to protect. Do American patriots support the Constitution?
I think when I am speaking of pride, I'm speaking just of pride of being an American, the pride of living in a country where there are free elections and we get to elect our leaders.
But we have quote-unquote free elections because of the Constitution. So you have pride in the Constitution and the rights in which it protects, right? Correct? Okay, great. Matthew, thank you for the galaxy. See, the thing is I'm trying to make a point here, right? But me making my point requires you to either affirm or deny a handful of preliminary questions. So what I'd like you to do when I'm asking you these questions, when I'm trying to construct an argument, is to just keep your responses short and direct. And I don't really feel like I'm getting that from you right now, right? Because the question that I'm asking you that hopefully I want to hear your feedback on is, do American patriots that take pride in America take pride in the Constitution and the rights in which it is enshrined as protecting, and that is what makes you take pride in America? An example of this would be, you told me that you take pride in free elections, but free elections are only supposedly protected by the Constitution. So do American patriots support the Constitution and the rights in which it protects for Americans?
Definitely. I agree with you 100%. I agree with you to the core.
Now can I make my point?
That's not the only thing, though.
Now can I make my point that you've agreed?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now here's the point. Donald Trump doesn't support the Constitution. If you are a patriot that takes pride in the values and rights that the Constitution gives to you, then you would never support Donald Trump in a billion years, because he is an anti-constitutional, wannabe all-powerful leader that does not play by the rules, but rather wants to make them, and has been incessantly infringing upon, disregarding, and disrespecting the Constitution forever. I'm going to go in and give you a timeline of events to prove that I am definitively right and that you are wrong.
Okay, the first event in my timeline will be January 6, 2021, when Donald Trump launched his fake electorates plot, where he sent fake slates of electorates to 7 key swing states that Biden won, with fake votes to send back to Congress to steal the election. My evidence is not liberal misinformation or propaganda on CNN. My evidence is literally his legal defense when he was indicted in Congress for trying to rig the election. Keep it in mind, his legal defense was literally, yeah, I did this, but guess what? It was an official act of my presidency, therefore I should be immune from criminal repercussions. Second event in the timeline, December of 2022, Donald Trump called for a termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution.
Come on!
Because he said the election in 2020 was stolen and it would permit overturning the Constitution. Next event, January 21st this year, Donald Trump signed into law Executive Order number 14160 that explicitly contradicted and infringed upon one of the most important amendments in the Constitution, that amendment being the 14th, when he attempted to take birthright citizenship away from the children of undocumented immigrants born on this soil, even though that right is explicitly protected for them by the clear text of the first section of the 14th. And adjudications from the American Supreme Court from 1897 until 1987. Amanda, I appreciate you so much for the lion. Third event, when he then a month later said that he wanted to run for a third term and that there's many ways he could get it done if he wanted to. The 22nd Amendment says that no president can serve for more than 2 terms, meaning that was him calling for a termination of the 22nd.
To 2 terms.
Fifth
Get the wording right. No one can be elected for more than 2 terms.
Ban the burning of the
Someone
American
can still
flag,
serve for 3 terms, but they can't be elected to no more than 2 terms. That is the words of the 22nd Amendment. You have to get that right, because it's very important. If you could have somebody serve for 3 terms, the president gets inaugurated, and that day he dies, his vice president takes over. So which he'll, since he's taking over on the first day of his predecessor's term, he would literally serve a full term and can legally be re-elected to 2 more terms, which means he could serve 3 terms legally, but he can only be elected to 2 terms. That's the exact words of the 22nd Amendment.
The scope of public discourse away from disagreeing with one another, seeking truth, criticizing thought we disagree with, upholding thought we agree with, to rather a mere reflection of what he likes or he doesn't like, mirroring countries that you named as worse than America because of their lack of rights, such as China, such as North Korea or Russia, right? And I'm not going to lie, I could continue to go on all day long and give off an 8th, a 9th, a 10th event of just how unconstitutional and pro-dictator this tyrant is, but I'd get too long-winded, so I'll stop there.
So are you saying that you disagree that pride is important?
I'm disagreeing that Donald Trump has any pride for this country. In fact, he's now demonstrated every single virtue in which you would expect out of a traitor to this country, and you are operating under a false sense of reality where you think you have pride in America, core American values, rights, liberties, and protections, but then you turn around and you support said tyrant.
I think that if I were to sit down and look at every Democratic nominee for president and compare their
deflection, they always got deflection.
Every time,
that's the only thing they have
against the Constitution, I would probably find a lot of things that are unconstitutional.
Do it. Make a comparison between Trump and Kamala Harris. What did she do that was unconstitutional? What did the lawyer do that was unconstitutional?
I would say as an American, I would say it's probably unconstitutional to allow an open border where you are not able, and I'll tell you why I say that. And now let me preface that by saying that
you are a special kind of stupid bitch.
Born here should be ripped away from their parents and sent back. I am the child of immigrants. I am an immigrant in this country. I do not think that all of these horrible things that were happening, should be done, or they can't be done in a more sensitive manner, or whatever it is. However, at the same time, I don't think that you have a country if you don't have a border, and you can't just let people in without knowing who these people are.
Nobody just
don't
let
think
people in, you
that
stupid
is
bitch.
responsible towards your own citizens. I don't think that is a way to keep them safe, and I don't think that is constitutional. Now, do I think that not letting anyone in is constitutional? No, of course I don't. But I don't think that we had a candidate that was really giving us a good solution. We had an extreme on one side where it was just, a free-for-all, everybody come in. And that's the truth. That's exactly what it was. And I think that's how come Trump got, 75% of the Latino vote that bordered, those states that were bordered there, because they really felt the problem at the border. Do I think that there should be serious immigration reform? Yes. Do I think that people who have lived here lawfully for years, that they should have a very swift way to be a green card holder or permanent resident? Absolutely, I do. Do I think that the people who have been sent out?
You're making like 5 points. I know that.
No, but what I'm saying is that there were.
I know what you're saying. Don't worry, I'm listening. I'm listening to you. I'm listening. I've been listening this whole time. Trust me. I picked up on everything you just said. Am I good?
I think that we were up against two extremes. I think that, I think personally myself.
Let's go point by point. No more points. We're gonna address everything that you just said. Okay?
I'm here and I'm listening.
Great. Look at this. So Donald Trump just signed an executive order labeling Antifa as a terrorist organization. So MAGA, the people claiming that Trump and his administration aren't fascists, are now hopping on board with calling anti-fascists terrorists. Sounds about right. The story of Donald Trump labeling Antifa as a quote-unquote terrorist organization has around 300 different sources covering it from left, right, and center all over the internet. And that is why I've been using Ground News. Instead of me hopping on about 10 different apps or 15 different paid subscriptions to the New York Times, Washington Post, so on and so forth, I instead go to one app with one subscription, which would be Ground News. Ground News pulls it all into one place. It actually shows you the political leaning of the outlets covering a particular topic, such as Donald Trump labeling Antifa as a terrorist organization, how reliable the outlets are, and even who owns them. So you can see the full picture of how everyone is reporting on the topic, knowing what their political bias is, so you don't get stuck in an echo chamber. Check this out. Outlets like NPR have headlines reading Trump issues executive order designating Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. Meanwhile, right-leaning outlets such as Fox News have headlines reading, quote-unquote, ex-Antifa activist praises Trump's decision to label group as domestic terrorists. And then there's the ownership data tab, where you can see if a small group of companies is controlling the story. That's the kind of transparency that we never get when we're just bouncing around between headlines. I also love the blind spots feature. This shows you stories that only the left is reporting on or only the right is reporting on. And it's a great feature because it helps you stay in the know with reporting on issues that would fall outside of your typical news cycle. If you watch my channel, I know that you already care about cutting through the spin, focusing on the facts, and trying to determine what is actually going on. Ground News is another tool to help you do that. It makes it easier. So, if you want a better way to stay informed, go to www.groundnews.com/DeanW or scan the QR code on the screen. Right now, they're offering 40% off their Vantage plan for anybody that signs up using this link. And that's unlimited access to coverage all around the world with all the features we just talked about in one place. Again, that is ground.news/DeanW. For everyone in the chat saying that she's driving, I don't think that she is.
No. I wouldn't be doing this while I'm driving. I have a 9-year-old child, so I need to be healthy and safe for him. So I wouldn't be doing this.
There's a lot of other things you can also do to keep your kids safe by not voting for the guy that is now defunding the Department of Education and taking free school student lunches away from 3 million school students. But I digress. Let's go back to the first point that you made. You told us that you think that the unconstitutional behaviors and proclivities of Kamala Harris related towards her policy alongside Biden in the last 4 years to open up the southern border. So first and foremost, I mean, if we just want to talk about the brass facts here, open borders are not unconstitutional. The Supreme Court gave Congress, or just reaffirmed that Congress has plenary powers over immigration matters, which grants Congress really like broad and nearly executive authority to establish rules for immigration and naturalization. And that's coming from Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution that explicitly grants Congress the power to establish a uniform rule of naturalization, more so giving it the authority to decide who may become a citizen in the processes of immigration. Would you be able to point me towards specifically what section inside of the Constitution would make quote-unquote open borders unconstitutional?
No, I wouldn't, and I'll tell you why. Because, you know, this is your job, and this is what you do for a living. You debate, and this is not what I do for a living. So if you came to, you know, my place of work, and I started asking you questions about, you know, policies, you know, in healthcare, you probably wouldn't have all the answers. But I'll tell you, constitutional or unconstitutional, when you're a president and you make that type of decision, that really says a lot about your thinking, about your caring for the American people, about you wanting to put America first, about you wanting to keep Americans safe. Just because something is not unconstitutional doesn't mean that it's right.
Yeah, but remember the argument that you were attempting to make was that although you just named off 8 clear, expressly unconstitutional things that Donald Trump has done in the last 8 months, I'm sure he'll be able to do the same for Kamala Harris. Then I asked you for an example, and then you said that this was an example of her.
I would say that the argument that I was initially trying to make is that I think that Trump has brought back, in one way or another, he has brought back some sort of patriotism and pride.
Please don't negate the fact that you're telling me that a wannabe all-powerful leader that wants to make the rules, that has disregarded the protections and rights offered to us under the Constitution and hates the Constitution in of itself, is bringing back patriotism and core American values such as the Constitution. That's just completely outrageous. This is like saying that the worst math teacher that you had in your life somehow made you so interested in math. This is like saying that, you know, even though I grew up in a broken family with parents that didn't love me at times, that, you know, I always felt like they were really good parents that did love me. This is like saying, you know, the terrible preacher at that church I went to once in the last 5 years that was espousing heresy and false truths about my religious beliefs was the best preacher I've ever had in my life that really reinstilled my faith and value in Jesus Christ as God. Yet it's just contradictory on a foundational, structural level. But I will also say here in response to your point about open borders that the Biden-Harris administration didn't open the borders, and that's pure misinformation.
And who opened the borders?
Who opened the borders? No one. I don't think anyone opened the borders.
The borders were never open, stupid
Biden-Harris
bitch.
administration opened the borders?
We're listening to Fox News. They're lying to you.
Well, I will answer your question after you answer mine, because it just sounds like you want to go deeper down the rabbit hole and disregard the fact that you said the Biden-Harris administration opened borders, yet you'd be able to indicate to me the policy that they signed into law that opened the borders. So once again, the question remains, how did the Biden-Harris administration, what I'm asking is how did the Biden-Harris administration open the borders?
Everybody who listens to you knows that you can't answer what did they do to control and to keep the American people safe and to control the border crossing.
And everyone that listens knows that I don't entertain deflections, right? I will happily answer your question. I will happily answer your question when you are not using said question as a deflection.
I can tell you that I know that border crossings were high, very, very up much during the Obama administration and during the Biden-Harris administration, and would have continued under the Harris administration. The borders, we could say, have always been open, right? Because it's not that we at some point never let anyone in. So saying who opened the borders, maybe that was a poor choice of words on my end. But what I really meant was that how much and who are you allowing in, and, you know, what kind of control, what kind of record, what kind of policy are you setting at the border? But I mean, the border.
And you're telling us that you support Trump because of his policy towards the border. What policy has he implemented since the end of the Biden-Harris administration to shut down and secure the southern border?
Well, border crossings are record low.
That's not the question that I asked, though.
For 97.
I understand that. I understand that border crossings are down by over 90%. I'll get around the why, but can you please tell me what good policy he implemented to decrease border crossings?
That if you try to cross into our country illegally without pleading asylum, without the proper documentation, that we will catch you, we will jail you, or we will deport you.
That's a statement. That's a statement, not a policy. So what executive order did he pass, or what new policy did he implement and sign into law to help shut down the southern border?
that just shows that it is enough sometimes for a president to make a statement that other countries hear. And that's all you need to do is make a statement.
Now we actually may be on a similar note here. We are now both agreeing that Donald Trump did not reduce undocumented border crossings with any good policy from our government, but he will you allow me to finish speaking? I understand I interrupted you, so I'm kind of being a hypocrite here, but will you allow me to finish speaking?
As long as you admit to being a hypocrite.
I'll make sure I give you your time too. How about this? How about we both like start speaking in like shorter segments of times? Because I feel like when you talk, like you're talking for like 3 minutes, so now it's like I feel like I have to interrupt you if I want to be able to respond to a specific point. But I also talk a lot, so how about we both try to condense what we're saying here? We're both a little bit verbose.
Oh, I think the acid's kicking in.
This is the best we can do. Millions of dollars raised by special interests. No real plan. I'm David Hatley, an independent. No PACs, no donors, and I won't take a salary. We need an outside auditor looking at the books. Every tax dollar spent goes online where you can see it. State contractors banned from buying governors. The corruption stops, and that's a promise.
I think that I'm really enjoying this conversation with you because you are challenging me and you're making me think. I think overall as a woman with a child in this country, I feel safer now.
Okay.
That might sound crazy to you.
We're moving on. I will happily tell you why you shouldn't on that point. But first, I want to respond to the last point. So I'm going to go ahead and take the mic now. You told us that no, Donald Trump did not reduce border crossings with good policy. He reduced border crossings by what he said. And to that, I partially agree. I don't think the reason why we see an over 90% reduction in undocumented entry into America is because we have a fit president that has implemented good, effective immigration policy. I rather think that we have lower border crossings because we have a wannabe authoritarian president that has been doing shit that's fascist, that has been scaring said entry away. Let me get this straight. All immigration into this country starts off with the base assumption that said immigrants will have a higher quality of life in the country. Now, Donald Trump is telling immigrants that they will not have a higher quality of life, but rather a lower quality of life by violating both the human and constitutional rights of the undocumented immigrants that are already in the United States of America. What do you think that potential undocumented immigrants thought to themselves when they saw Abrigo Garcia being illegally deported to El Salvador, where he was beaten and tortured and starved for 3 weeks? Meanwhile, SCOTUS ruled his removal was illegal, said the Trump administration had to bring him home, and they said, hell no, we don't care. What do you think that those potential immigrants thought to themselves when they saw the Venezuelan immigrants deported without due process, even though a federal judge had ruled they had to stay here until they had due process, and were also sent to El Salvador? What do you think they saw when Donald Trump's administration was blackbagging college students, violating the withholding order of a judge and taking them 1,000 miles away to an ICE detention center on the other side of the country? What do you think they thought when they saw Mr. Khalil, who was a legal green card holder in this country, detained in an ICE detention center for 3 months, even though he was not an undocumented immigrant? They saw tyranny. They saw human rights abuse. They saw blatantly illegal and fascist and things, which obviously disincentivize their entry. So that's why I think we've seen such a fast and drastic reduction in undocumented entry into this country. But that's bad for a handful of reasons. The first reason was why it's bad. It's immoral. That one should be obvious. It's obviously immoral to illegally deport people and have them tortured. The second reason is that it's short term. As soon as we have a president that's not a fascist, guess what? That incentive structure of sending entry away because you're telling them they'll have a lower quality of life will be reversed because we're no longer torturing immigrants or violating their constitutional rights.
Or maybe this is just the beginning and there will be a continuation. Maybe there had to be some sort of an extreme gesture to take back control. And from here, we can build on a real immigration reform.
you actually
Is that
justify? So are you actually justifying the human and constitutional rights violations?
I'm going to say that, first of all, undocumented people who are not Americans, and the Constitution protects Americans.
No,
so
it doesn't.
people who are here undocumented
Protects everybody, you fucking bitch.
That's
no, I'm not. I'm saying that many of those people who come in here, and it's not gross, Dean, because you couldn't go into any other country.
Yes,
and
justifying human rights violations is gross.
You
And I also
couldn't
want to
just
give you. I want to give you a pushback on something else that you said
just
there.
go into any other country.
Shut up, bitch.
You couldn't just go into any other country and just establish that that is it. Now I'm here.
Oh,
you can't do.
So I have a question. If child marriage, if child marriage and child rape was legal in every other country on earth, would you say that therefore, if we were to legalize child rape, that it
Child
would not be
marriage is
gross?
legal in many countries on earth, and you know that.
Wait, so does that mean? Does that mean if child marriage occurs in America that it's not gross?
I'm sure that occurs in America. It's gross.
Exactly. So it's gross regardless. It's gross regardless of the amount of people that do it. Because you just tried to tell me that if you go into any other country on the face of planet Earth and they deport you to a center for terrorists illegally where you're tortured, well, not only do other countries not really do that, but if they were to do that, that wouldn't mean that it's not gross if we were to do it. So shut the hell up. Your point is wrong, and you are an incredibly immoral, apathetic individual for attempting to justify not just illegal, but torturous mechanisms that the Trump administration has been using in relation to undocumented immigrants. It is totalitarian, immoral, and disgusting. And then also, respond to something else that you said there. One last thing. You said that the Constitution only protects rights for...
Listen, I would say that it is immoral and disgusting. Listen, I would say that it is immoral and disgusting to know that there are murderers and rapists who can potentially cross the border and come into this country, and to know that they will bring harm and they will bring along drugs and our youth will suffer.
Yeah, you're
not.
Fox News has poisoned your brain, you stupid bitch.
Crosses the border to the country, but it's not crazy at all if a rapist, crosses through the security checks in D.C., goes into the White House and passes legislation. In fact, you want the rapists to be doing exactly that. I say we ban rapists from legally immigrating into the country, and we ban rapists from serving as a president. Now, something else I wanted to touch on here is you made a sly comment suggesting that the Constitution only protects rights for Americans.
That is wrong.
Are you pro-life? Do you think abortion should be banned? Just a yes or no will suffice.
Do I think abortion should be banned?
Just a yes or no will suffice.
No, of course not.
Okay, so you're pro-choice?
Better job opportunities can't find you if they don't know you're there. With an Indeed profile, you can feel confident you're not missing out on your next role. Complete your Indeed profile and help jobs find you.
Come on, damn it. Get rid of these ads. Thank you.
I am absolutely pro-choice, yes.
I wasn't expecting that. See,
no kidding,
we'll talk about how that's contradictory to the Trump administration in a bit.
One second, listen. I started off by saying that I felt that Trump was the lesser of the two evils. And also that I definitely don't agree with all of his policies. I am definitely pro-choice. Do I think that there should be some sort of counseling? Do I think that there should be, education? Absolutely. Do I think that education should come with guilt? No. Do I think that there should be abortions in the, when you're 8.5 months pregnant because you all of a sudden changed your mind? No.
Actually,
that never happens. That is such a stupid argument because it never happens. Who the hell is going to carry a baby for 8 months and then say, you know what, I don't want it anymore? How fucking stupid.
It should be legal in all circumstances ever. Can I tell you why?
That I think, just clarify.
That's like saying, after they're born, you can kill the baby. After birth abortion.
Yeah, like a woman and girl should be able to access abortion all 9 months for any reason or no reason at all. Can I tell you why you think that?
Well, I know what I think, but go ahead, you can tell me.
Yeah, because you know that the Constitution only protects rights for citizens. You don't become a citizen until birth.
I think that, this is just going somewhere stupid. This is just so stupid. But besides,
it is going somewhere stupid. That stupid place being the idea that the Constitution only protects rights.
You can't just place all of morality and ethics and everything in just a document, right? You can't just always lean on the Constitution.
Well,
right?
you have to maintain consistency. You said that the Constitution only protects legal rights for citizens, meaning under your view, citizens don't have any legal rights, as the Constitution is the highest document of all, supersedes federal, state, and local law, meaning that you would say that a fetus prior to birth and citizenship has no legal right to life in any scenario whatsoever. So
I did not say that. I did not say that a fetus does not have any right to life. I didn't say
well, then you're saying that non-citizens do have constitutional protections.
What I'm saying.
Then you're saying that non-citizens do have constitutional protections.
I'm not saying that either. I'm saying that
what do you think a right to life
Constitution
is? That is a protection by a body of authority to prevent unjust infringements upon your life.
I think that we have a moral obligation as Americans and just as humans, just as humans, to look past.
I actually got to kick you. Sorry, I have to kick you because you got a flag for hate speech. My bad. I had to kick her. She got the live restricted over on TikTok. That was kind of insufferable. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be honest with you guys. It was a pretty insufferable conversation.
Yep. Insufferable bitch. What do you expect?
About the DOJ backtracking on this reflecting pool case. I'm joined now by Norm Eisen, who represented former Olympian David Hearn, who was at the heart of this case and now vindicated in the aftermath of the DOJ dropping its charges. Norm, first and foremost, Donald Trump was asked about this and continues to cling to this idea that, in fact, Jeanine Pirro was absolutely dead wrong to drop these charges, and even though the Department of the Interior and the DOJ now have evidence that suggests that David Hearn didn't do anything wrong, that he didn't cut a 350-foot gash in the reflecting pool, still he wants to see him prosecuted. So can I have your reaction to Trump's insistence, his obstinance on this idea that a known innocent man should still be dragged through the ringer?
We said David Hearn was innocent when the case began. He, unusually for a criminal defendant, went out and proclaimed his own innocence. We started filing motions on the defense team, Brian. The day after he was arraigned, I filed my first motion with my wonderful colleagues, Mary Dorman, the Washington Litigation Group, Steve Levine at Steptoe. With that first motion had pictures, before and after pictures, including from the government itself, showing that Davy Hearn had not done anything to that liner, that it was the same before he touched it and after he touched it. And we've continued to file those motions. So finally, the U.S. Attorney's Office, Judge Pirro, was forced to admit what the evidence showed. Donald Trump can't handle that. It's not the first time that we've had this challenge because, Brian, as you know, there's been a series of innocent people who have been prosecuted and persecuted by this administration. But like many of those others, Davy Hearn is not going to break. He's a 3-time Olympian, many-time world champion. He understands rigor. He's tough, and he's going to keep on going no matter what the president or anybody else says.
Is there any likelihood that, far from just feeling vindication for beating these charges, that he might actually go after the federal government and seek some monetary damages as the result of them dragging him through this process, knowing full well that he was innocent, and yet all of these law enforcement officials coming out and offering up this conclusion anyway?
The worst thing contemplated by American law is the power of the state, the overwhelming force, particularly through criminal proceedings, trying to crush an innocent person. We're reviewing all of the options. Everything is on the table. He's got a very capable legal team, and all options remain in play. For now, the focus is on getting the case dismissed, but you haven't heard the last of this matter, because in America, this is not supposed to happen.
Trump seems to be hell-bent on insisting, as I mentioned before, that Jeanine Pirro was wrong to drop these charges. Knowing what we now know from the Department of Interior and from all of this documentation showing that, in fact, it was the result of a botched job and not vandalism, what would happen to Jeanine Pirro as the U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C., had she nonetheless insisted on continuing with this prosecution?
You face the most serious consequences when you prosecute an innocent man after you've been told there's not enough evidence to establish proof beyond a reasonable doubt. The most serious consequences, ethics consequences, ability to practice law, potential civil liability, possibly personal liability if it's bad enough. It's the worst thing you can do as a prosecutor, as a government official, to go after someone innocent. But I do not accept the statement in the government's extraordinary filing on Friday that it only figured this out after it asked the Department of the Interior for all the evidence. I mean, come on. We've filed brief after brief with evidence, photographs, testimony, proof that Davy was innocent. They knew it. And that is also in itself a serious problem, that knowledge was there, we believe, established by our filings before the Interior Department supposedly revealed the truth to them. So that's one part of that government motion from last Friday that I find a little hard. It doesn't carry water, Brian.
I'm curious, there is some thinking online or among some folks, the skeptics, who think that, this is all just Trump needing to find someone to cover for him, and so he, let Jeanine Pirro know, like, hey, this can't be my fault. I'm gonna lash out at you a little bit, so just, play along. Do you think that this is Trump understanding what happened, or do you think that he's a true believer that Jeanine Pirro should have actually gone through with this prosecution, and that when he attacks her online and says that she made a mistake, that he's actually being earnest, and that this isn't just K-FOP, basically?
Yeah, this is not some kind of insect dance or kabuki performance.
Yeah,
she has enraged Donald Trump by conceding the truth, even if she did it with a extremely implausible excuse that, the Department of the Interior pulled the wool over our eyes. Come on. Nevertheless, the truth has been revealed, including through those motions that we kept filing. One of them was to take discovery about possible grand jury wrongdoing, and then the decision to drop the case came right after that. Is that a coincidence? I don't know. The truth of all of this will come out. It always all leaks out with this administration. But I do know this. Davy Hearn is innocent. The proof is overwhelming that Davy Hearn is innocent. And anybody who perpetuates the lie that he did anything wrong is doing a grave disservice to the Constitution, to the rule of law, and to the idea of America. This is not a country where we prosecute innocent people, Brian.
Yeah, and yet, what strikes me so much about this is that that's exactly what Trump was willing to do. He doesn't care whose life he has to destroy or who he has to destroy in pursuit of just salvaging his ego. I mean, this was all about not wanting to be wrong. And so, it's sociopathic behavior to be willing
knowing that Davy Hearn was completely innocent, to be still willing to throw the full weight of the federal government behind his efforts to prosecute him, to destroy his life, to lock him up, knowing what they knew, but like, he placed his own ego above this guy's freedom.
Never rush to sue the other driver after a car accident. There may be a much smarter way to get paid a much larger settlement without going to court or paying huge legal fees up front. If you've been in a car accident within the past year, even if you were only a passenger, you could still qualify for a major cash payout. While many people are stuck dealing with insurance companies, adjusters, and
ego above this guy's freedom.
Well, I won't get into analysis about what the heck is going on, but the reaction, I will say, has just been to underline the innocence of Mr. Hearn.
Yeah.
And I will say that it has been very gratifying to see those of all political stripes, even many who normally support or agree with President Trump, say, hey, this is an innocent man. He's a 3-time Olympian, repeated world champion canoeist. The evidence doesn't prove it, and it's wrong to continue to attack him. So the president has managed to unify the country around that, Brian.
No, I'm curious, during the lawsuit, while you were speaking with the judge, what has come of this idea of the presumption of regularity? And I ask that because, for those who are watching who don't know what the presumption of regularity is that there is normally deference paid to the federal government. That when the federal government says something, because they have years of good faith behind them, judges are more inclined to believe the things the federal government says, that they're acting in good faith, that they're not lying, what they say is true. Knowing the extent to which the Trump administration has lied for years at this point, and especially in this case, is there any indication as to whether judges are still granting this Department of Justice the presumption of regularity, or has that been all but obliterated?
Well, we haven't yet reached a decision on the motions we've filed, the pretrial issues, of course, the trial itself. So I'll confine myself to my other over 300 legal cases and matters, although the Hearn case certainly has done nothing for to restore the presumption of regularity. It has been obliterated over the course of our matters, the hundreds of others that we've seen over the past year and a half, whether it's birthright citizenship, where a Democracy Defenders Fund or Action, we've litigated cases denying the plain meaning of the Constitution. Dr. Lisa Cook, another wrongly persecuted individual from the Federal Reserve, we took that to the Supreme Court and won. The other corruption cases, the slush fund case in Florida, the Kennedy Center case, over and over again, we've seen in these cases that the administration is forcing its lawyers to make arguments that don't pass the smell test.
Yeah.
And of course, you are going to lose trust with judges, with juries. You know, in a lot of these cases, they're either
I'm going to be right back and grab some
pre-trial.
coffee.
That happened in another case I worked on, the labor leader David Huerta in California, peacefully protesting ICE. Tish James or Jim Comey, you know, you see these cases, and sometimes they come after the people again and again, Brian. It's so wrong. It's so un-American. But I will say, and a positive sign, the American people see through this. Donald Trump's approval ratings have sunk to lows that are now approaching Richard Nixon's in the depths of his corruption crises. So just reflecting on my other cases, I do think the presumption of regularity has been blown to smithereens.
You had mentioned your other 300 cases. What is next? What's coming down the pike in terms of what we can expect from the indefatigable Norm Eisen?
Elections. We have a large portfolio of election safeguarding activity at Democracy Defenders Fund. Our 300 cases and matters include a large number of those. For example, in Fulton County, Georgia, we quashed the criminal subpoena where Donald Trump was trying to dig into the 2020 election. We had a long, hard fight in court. We finally succeeded there. Redistricting, we had one of the biggest redistricting successes, Prop 50, adding 5 seats to the pro-democracy landscape in our country. Just today, we filed in the United States Supreme Court on behalf of 55 former federal and state judges, mostly conservatives and Republicans, a brief saying Donald Trump's second executive order tampering with elections should not be allowed to take effect.
Yeah.
We defeated his first executive order. And Brian, my team and I are ready. I was part of many of the 63 cases in 2020. We are ready to do twice that number. I told the team, let's get ready, 126 cases if necessary. We will protect this election. If you are watching, you can rest assured that my colleagues and I and so many partners around the country are ready to make sure that your vote can be cast and the elections proceed freely and fairly. We are not going to let anything happen, any sabotage when it comes to these elections.
To that end, for folks who are watching and listening right now, you know, I've always been an advocate for the people who are on the front lines doing this work, and you are chief among them. So for folks who are looking to support
I have to
your
set
efforts,
this out for right now. I got to look for our lease to go to sign it.
Defenders Fund,
Lease to this apartment.
Democracy Defenders Action.
I'll probably come back later on this
Brian
afternoon. I'm
always
sure I will.
very kindly puts those links, our website.
I got to find that lease and sign it. It's 8:37, April 1st, 4th year of this map. This is Farming Simulator 22 Michigan Farms map. Schafer's Ag Service, part 109. This is an accurate replica of the farm I grew up on. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you later, probably later on today. I'll be starting my new Bomber Crew campaign on my other channel, which is Super Bowl 10. You have to check that out. Thanks.